Hello and welcome to Armoredcast, an Armored Core 6 PvP podcast. Today, we are talking to some Armored Core veterans who have been around since the beginning about certain things we want back in Armored Core 7 or in a DLC/expansion game. We also talk about the meta over in Japan and the recent $250 3v3 tournament Dirk Donk ran last weekend. Enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome to Armoredcast, an Armored Core 6 State of the Game PvP podcast, and today I have Cleric.
Hello everyone, Cleric here.
And I also have Royal Sky, who's a first-timer on this podcast.
How's it going, Ravens?
Okay, full disclosure, this is the second time we're recording this. It threw me off again. The Ravens thing threw me off again.
It's all good.
Oh my gosh.
Raven.
Anyway, so today we are talking about a few things. We are talking about turn speed and why it should or should not come back. Royal Sky made a whole video on that, which is interesting. And then we're talking about stabilizers. We're talking about OS tuning. We're talking about radiators, which y'all didn't want to talk about, but I want to talk about it.
It was a joke, chat. I promise. I'm sorry, audience. I was a joke. I promise.
I don't know what they are, and I want to know what they are now. And then we have optional parts and Verdict Day Online, because there's a lot of cool features in Verdict Day Online that y'all were telling me about before this podcast started being recorded. And I didn't know that they existed, and they sound really cool, and I want them back. So basically, we're talking about stuff that was in previous Armored Core games that we either want to come back or want to stay in the past, because this game is pretty bare bones comparatively. There's not a lot here besides, like, you know, your frame, your weapons, your expansion, and your internals, when there used to be a lot more customization to it. So we're talking about that today. A little background on the people here. Cleric actually hosted a point system tournament where you basically had to have a point system to spend on parts for your AC, which is a very cool concept. And they also commentated the 3v3 tournament that happened last Saturday, which was very cool. It's also the first time that Japan, like pilots from Japan, actually came and entered into a Western tournament, and they did actually really well. They swept the whole gosh darn tournament. So it was really cool to see. Yeah.
Never lost once, and yeah, we have some catching up to do. They were really good. Really good.
Japan's scary. Like, it legitimately, that is, they didn't, as Cleric said, they didn't drop a single game. They did not lose a single time in the 3v3 tournament. It was kind of wild.
Yeah, well, Japan has a history of always being the best, strongest Armored Core like community most of the time, anyway. So it's kind of not surprising, but at the same time, I think we definitely have a lot to learn from the tournament results. Like, I'm really excited to go back to those matches and just like study them. So
yeah, I'm excited to to edit that video for Dirk. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I don't really go to the thing, but I want to just clarify one thing. One of the players on the winning Japanese team, they had just got done winning a Japanese tournament 2 hours prior to participating in that tournament.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Yeah, no joke.
Was that 4-3-2?
No, actually, that was Hiwami, the heavy tank player.
I see. Okay, well, be excited for that, because when that video goes up on Dirk's channel, I'll probably do an Armored cast with them and talk about that tournament more in depth. But it was a very fun tournament to watch. I wish I was not dead and I could actually have casted it, but I did not get much sleep the night before, so Cleric thankfully carried that co-commentary for me.
Happy to participate where I can.
And then we also have Royal Sky, who made an entire video about turn speed and why it should not come back, so I'm very excited to have them on here. That video was very freaking cool and talked a lot about how turn speed had affected like the competitive scene for like a while now and why it should not come back. So I'm excited to talk about that when it comes to turn speed.
It was a pleasure to be here, man. I appreciate the invitation. And yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but I would prefer to hear your thoughts first, and especially because Cleric's also another older player who's kind of been here a while. And I think I'll say my part, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first about it.
Okay, well, what I have to say about it is I don't know much about it. I played Armored Core 4. I mostly played as a lightweight. I was talking about it a little bit before, but I basically went on a lot of sleepovers with my friends and played a lot of LAN parties with Armored Core 4 Answer. And I played a lightweight AC with shoulder boosters and back boosters with double moonlight called Archangel, and that's the only build I ever played when I played Armored Core 4 Answer.
The one you needed.
Exactly. So turn speed, like for a lightweight, because you said it was based on your legs earlier, Cleric. I don't. Like, I assume I had really good turn speed, so I just didn't notice the mechanic, did I?
Probably.
Well, you're that light with all the boosters, although I think with 4 for Answer it was a little bit different.
Okay.
It was still based on it, but it's not. If you were light enough, you wouldn't have noticed. You didn't care.
Yeah.
It wasn't noticeable to you at that point.
Well, there you go. Because in my, like, just conceptually, I feel like that would feel really bad to play. Like for a new player to the Armored Core series. Like imagine you jump in wanting to be a tank player, and then you put on the Born Mesa legs, and all of a sudden your camera control feels terrible. Also, my phone's not muted. Gosh darn it. Anyway, so like you put on your, like all of a sudden your camera turn speed sucks and it feels terrible to play. You're probably not gonna touch Born Mesa legs ever again, right? Like that's kind of, it feels like it would just feel bad to play with.
No, yeah, I know a lot of people are talking about turn speed. I said, I actually think Rowan and I probably agree on this as far as the turn speed shouldn't make a comeback. I agree with that for the most part.
Just wanted to quickly step in and say Cleric's microphone was messing up a little bit, but that does fix later. Sorry about that.
I think a lot of people who are frustrated by the heavy dominance is, you might know a little about the rules, guy. So when was there ever heavy dominance in the PvP scene at all in Armored Core?
I don't think like ever. I think
I can. Yeah, I don't think it was hardly ever a thing. Now heavies were pretty good in 5.
Yeah,
either a lot of tanks. Well, that's because tank kicks could one-shot people. That's a whole other discussion for a whole nother day.
What? Wait, no, there is no other day. I want to hear about this now. Tanks could one-shot with kicks?
Okay, so
Excuse
people
me?
complain about kicking in Armored Core 6, right? Yeah, that's one of the common complaints people have is the kicking. But that's not new. It's been around since 5. Yeah, so
awesome.
the kick stat, with how the kick stat was basically damage, is like it is now, based on your weight and your total, like, your total AC setup. Yeah, so it was actually possible back in 5 that if you had the right tank setup with the heaviness on everything on it, you actually could one-shot people by ramming them with your tank legs.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Imagine if that was a thing in Armored Core 6. Could you imagine? With
Everyone
attacker
be a
side
tank.
kicks? Bro, with attacker side kicks, you just like throttle your internet connection and then kick the opponent from 200 meters away and they just die.
just cheese people all the time.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, there's a reason why that's not a thing anymore. There's a good reason for that.
Oh my god.
I mean, aside from like jousting tanks were kind of popular back in Silent Line, heavies were almost nigh unseen on 4 and 4 answer. Tanks had a little, and heavies had a little bit of a comeback in 4 and 5 Verdict Day. They're definitely seeing a little bit of a heyday here in 6, but yeah. So if your turn speed was essentially locked to your legs more or less, and the heavier you were, the less you had turn speed. You actually had optional parts back then. We'll talk more about optional parts later, I know. That it wasn't an optional part for you. The turn speed one was not optional. The turn speed optional part was required, especially if you're heavy at all. Even lighter weights often use it just to keep their speed going. And here's my hot take. Ready?
I'm ready.
Anyone who watched my mouse and keyboard controls video before the game came out, explaining how the mouse board works and how the reticle is no longer locked in with turn speed, it's free movement. I said a lot of people use essentially what I called infinite flight uber lightweights as a crutch for skill.
As a crutch for skill?
Now, I'm not saying it doesn't take skill to run those builds. My point is, I think a lot of players were so used to their ACs being so much faster and able to fly in the air for so much longer against these heavier builds that they never had to compete with the fact that they could get shot back at. They just went so fast the whole time they never got shot.
I would agree.
That's not an option anymore.
Agree. Yeah, I
That's
think
not an option in this game anymore. Yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of people are frustrated by the fact that they just can't rely on the fact that my horrendous 130 turn speed stat is limiting me from shooting them ananymore.
Okay, so what we're talking about is so from what I understand, when the game first came out and people who were like played Verdict Day and played 4 answers, stuff like that, got on their lightweights and couldn't just, like, 'cause I remember from Roll Sky's video, you were able to like just stay behind them and just abuse their bad turn speed and just kind of obliterate them the entire time. You're saying that because you can't do that, people were very upset, and that's why there's a huge like asking for turn speed to come back?
That's my guess, because I'd probably say of the heavy players, as far as like the constant fandom of Armored Core, like there's always been the fandom in general. You have a broader fandom now. But I would say probably a good half, and probably two-thirds of the mainstay Armored Core constant players tend to play a little lighter in general.
Yeah.
And so you've essentially taken a tool or an option away from two-thirds of the fan base that they used almost explicitly, like the heavier builds, that they no longer have an option to use.
I see. So it's just like the main form of counterplay is just gone now.
Well, okay, so Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cleric. If you had something.
No,
else.
you're good. Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear what you think too.
Okay. So just to build on what Cleric's saying is, I actually think that a lot of what he's saying is true in the sense of, Armored Core historically has always encouraged you through the gameplay to play medium and lightweight builds. That's always clearly been where the part stats skew towards. And if you look at all the top, like every single Armored Core game almost has an arena, right? Just like Armored Core 6 has an arena. You have the bottom opponents that are easy, and you have the top opponents that are really good. And if you look at the top of the arena, what type of AC do you see at the top of the arena? It's always a fast middleweight biped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been true for like all 23 games, or 16 games, I guess. I've been playing the game for 23 years, so. But it's every single arena. That's always the number one AC, and that you can tell what the developers favor by who they put at the top. It's always that same genre of AC that they think, okay, this is the most difficult machine that a player is expected to overcome. So heavyweights have kind of always been kind of like a backseat niche kind of genre for a lot of players. And I think because you just you kind of like Cleric said, I don't think he's over exaggerating when he's saying that 2/3 of the traditional Armored Core community are used to being able to abuse movement against slower opponents. Because if you've ever played Armored Core on the PlayStation 1, Armored Core on the PlayStation 2, that's where most of my experience comes from. You could absolutely defeat most of your opponents without ever taking damage if you were fast and they were slow. If you were equal skill, but my opponent was a tank and I had the fastest AC with the best overboost, he was never going to touch me. Like it just wasn't going to happen. And so, but I think the symptom of like I think people want turn speed back, but I don't think that's really what they want. I think because the problem is actually multiple things stacked on top of each other, and I don't want to drag out too many details here, but to put it simply, a lot of things changed in Armored Core 6 that you didn't have in the old games, which people in their mind they interpret it as turn speed, but it's actually a bunch of different things. One of them is in this game, your weight classes are separated artificially, whereas in the old game, you could actually be a tank that could go almost as fast as a lightweight AC in the old games if you just build your AC correctly. But now there's an artificial barrier that just says, oh, you have tank legs. There's no way you're going faster than 300 kilometers an hour or whatever.
Oh,
like
just to build on what you just said, I had someone come to me and said, hey, I want to do a lightweight only tournament. And I'll give you like $100. I'll put that into the prize pool if you want to do a lightweight tournament. I want to help sponsor this kind of event. And what I told them was, what does lightweight mean in this game? I can make a wrecker leg build with like 1950 stability that's under 65k weight. Like, what does lightweight mean in this game? Like, what is?
Right.
I asked Bowles. I straight up asked Bowles, hey, what's the most busted build I can make? That is like under this much weight. And they came back with a build that has 1915 attitude stability, and it's like, okay, well, that's a lightweight, I guess, in this game. What you really want to understand is like... Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, in this game, there's actually there's a clearly defined weight class for lightweights and for medium weights and for heavyweights. In other games, there was no line, but there's a weight class at which once you pass, your speed just takes a plummet. It's like you'll go. If you're a lightweight and you pass, I don't know what the number is, but there's a YouTube video on this.
75 to 80k, I believe.
75k.
Yeah. So like that would be where you draw the line. Is like when the game decides your speed drops off from lightweight speed, that would probably be where you would make those rules. But in the older Armored Core games, there was no such thing, and that was kind of probably one of the harder things for a lot of players to get used to because, like I said, I could be if I designed my AC correctly in the past, you remember when Cleric said he doesn't agree that tanks were completely unviable in the past. He's right, because in the past, just because you were a tank doesn't mean you were slow. You could build a lightning fast tank in the past. and go toe to toe with certain lightweights. And in fact, there's actually some in Last Raven, a tank that's really fast that has a linear cannon is probably one of the most dangerous things you could encounter in competitive play.
Yep, it was like what we called jousting tanks. You had the tank with a really good overboost and booster combination, the way you worked it with the core. And essentially you had back cannons that you could fire freely while overboosting. So you basically get back, overboost in, fire back cannons, overboost out, recharge, restart. They were called jousting tanks for that reason.
Right, but you could only do that because there wasn't an artificial speed barrier, like
Correct.
making sure that you're slow, right? But in this game, there is. So if you combine that with the fact that auto lock helps you keep a lock on your opponent, and you combine that with the fact that there's only 2 viable ranges of combat, which is too far and in your face, right?
Yeah, the medium weight weapons just suck, or the medium range weapons just suck.
yeah, that's true. But it's like, so people say, "Oh, I want turn speed back." It's like, well, no, what you really want, you probably want the ability to just outskill your opponent regardless of stats. And it's very clear in this game that the developers really wanted to prevent you from being able to just be God against an enemy. Like it's like they don't want you to be able to do what you used to be able to do, which is literally run circles around your enemy and literally take 0 damage just because your AC has 50% better turning speed than the opponent.
Yeah, I assume that the developers want to get the game to a point where you don't just lose in the garage, which that's what it definitely sounds like. If I'm a slow turning tank against a lightweight AC, I probably just lose most of the time, right? In games with turn speed. So
yeah.
So I assume they went to the point where, like, if I'm in the garage building something and you're in the garage building something and we play against each other, as long as we're not stupid and being like overburdened and like, a bunch of dumb stuff, like we have an equal chance of winning, disregarding player skill, just based off build alone.
Right. Yeah, assuming that you're not like 5 times better than your opponent or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like disregarding player skill, we should have the exact same chance. That's basically the perfect game balance would be. You have a completely different build than me, but we both have a very high chance of winning. Because
that was the goal. That was clearly the goal in this game, and I think they actually did a pretty good job. Not a perfect job, obviously, but they did a pretty good job getting it to where you have a pretty good shot at doing it with all types of ACs. It's like you could go with literally no weapons. You could punch someone to death. Mm-hmm. You can go melee only. You could go missiles only. You could go heavyweight lasers. You can go shotgun. Like, this is the first time I've seen all this, honestly.
You could be like that guy in my comment section whenever I in the second to last patch video that I did, where they're like, wow, they didn't nerf punches? Punch chainsaw is literally the best build in the game. And it's like, you can be like that guy.
Someone's been watching Ouroboros video.
Yeah, apparently. Good lord. God,
but so that was not a thing. Like in the old games, there were just some weapons that were objectively never worth having on your AC unless you were literally just trying to troll your opponent.
I mean, like, we have a few of them. I mean, one of them comes to mind, the therapist.
I don't think you would. No, you don't understand to the degree I'm talking about.
No.
Armored Core 6, like no, like Armored Core 6, okay.
Yeah, previous games, you would literally not use like 2/5 of the parts. You would never touch them.
Yeah,
you wouldn't. If you want to win in a PvP match, you wouldn't use almost a little less than half of the parts. You would never touch them.
Like a paring blade?
Huh.
I
can think of like no joke. I think I can think of about 5 weapons that I would never ever use. Like off top, like Ludlow's one of them. Even though Ludlow actually has I take it back. Ludlow has a niche because it's probably one of the best weapons to take out in terminal armor. Because the thing's ricochet range is fucking ridiculous. It would do 1 damage at like 320 meters. It isn't like units. It's insane.
Could I take a like 60 seconds to just give a quick explanation to what I mean when I say like a useless part?
Look, I have a bullet point list of things that we want to go through. I will throw it away. This is a much more interesting discussion than what I had planned. I will put this list in the garbage right now.
No. I don't want to throw you off your list. I just think that
the thing is, I don't care very much about the list. Does not control me. I control the list. I can put this thing in a paper shredder whenever I want, and we can talk about whatever.
Radiators. I want to talk about.
Okay, I'll delete everything but radiators, and we'll just talk about radiators.
Okay. Well, I think this is a very important point to set the standards of what I mean when I say a viable part, right? Okay, so for example, in the old games, there were just parts that were straight up worse in every way compared to other parts, like straight up every single way, right? So, for example, the default AC that they would give you at the very beginning of the game would mostly be comprised of parts that were just flat out terrible. As soon as you got any money, you would upgrade your legs and never go back, right? In this game, the default AC is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that like, plasma blade is no joke.
Yeah,
the plasma blade. But let me like to put it so the first legs, the first core. Let's just start those two parts, okay? The very first legs in the first core, right? You would imagine, oh, these are your default AC parts. There's no reason I would ever use them, because that's how it used to be in every single Armored Core. But in this game, there are actually quite a few reasons why you would use that part over something else, because those two parts have the best energy drain out of all their classes in the game. The first legs in the game have the best energy drain out of every single legs.
You mean EN load, right?
Core, yeah. And the first core has the best energy drain out of every single core. So there's reason, they gave you reasons to use the first parts, which is that wasn't the case in older Armored Cores. In the older Armored Cores, the first core was just garbage. There was like nothing. There was never a reason to use it over like, over something, anything else, right? But in this game, it's like even the very first default frame parts, there's quite a few reasons why you would actually pick them over something else. And that's all I want. So when I say a useless part, I mean like there is another part that completely outclasses it in every single stat.
Like jailbreak and basho, basically, is what you're saying.
Okay, true. But at least, yeah, the jailbreak. Okay, yeah, I guess that's kind of true. But that's for more like when you want to send the message, right? So. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, just to so we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, just like completely outclassed. There's no reason to ever run it. Like you just, it's completely useless. Because like even like the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of an outclassed weapon, people are using dual basho, Viento, Alcelis. I have a video about that soon, which is a very strong combo. It's probably the best lightweight, like aggressive lightweight build in the game right now. Because you just you have a ton of AP because basho gives you like 1,000 more AP than VP4060, and you also have Alcelis, which is carrying your firearm spec for Vientos. So what you do with that build, it's on Knock Rider legs or Femez legs or whatever, you just get really close, dump your entire load of Vientos, get your opponent staggered, and then swap to Laser Dagger or Twin Blade or Laser Slicer and just go in and kill them. Because you have basho arms, so you're actually doing a decent amount of damage. And the only, you use Viento on that build, and people have tried experimenting with Coquillets, but Coquillets are just not even nearly as good as Viento. Like, Viento is way stronger than Coquillet, but Coquillet has a lower EN cost, I believe, like, if I remember correctly. And also, it has a better... there are other reasons to actually run Coquillet over it. But you don't see it, but it's there. Like, it has a very specific niche, and you can run it on that kind of playstyle. It's just, you don't see it very often.
True. But at least there's, like, you could... I use this logic for my headpieces all the time. Like, my favorite head is almost never the one that I should be using, right? Like, it's the ugliest head always happens to be the one I should be using. But and it's like, oh, I tell myself, oh, I use it for the energy drain or something, but that's just me coping,
Dude, I feel you so hard because, like, I completely relate to you because I'm a big basho head enjoyer, and basho head does nothing right. That thing makes me so sad. Because
when you tell yourself it's the whatever stat it has in blue, that's why you use it, right?
All of my bullets would be way better if I had Mind Beta on them. That's all I'm gonna say. It's like,
yeah,
they are good looking parts.
But I just love basho because basho has lower EN. You see, I can't even justify it. You know what? If I'm actually talking about optimization, I can't justify it. Basho head just looks cool. That's why I have it. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I'm just saying, like, at least there's the game has given you at least one statistic that you can kind of legitimize why you would pick it outside of, feelings, but...
Oh, no, man. The only reason is, like, 600 more AP compared to my everything else. Like, I'd be at 1994 accessibility on my main build if I went for that instead of 1828. Like, that's pretty big. I would also be lighter and, faster and just... Fuck.
No. But yeah, in the old games it was like that, but worse. Like sometimes there was just a part that was flat out terrible, but it looked really cool. and you just know that like there's literally no statistical advantage to picking this head. But at least now I can tell myself, oh, at least I'm using this core for energy drain. Even though it's shit and everything else, it looks cool and it has the best energy drain. So I tell myself I'm using it for the energy drain, right? So.
Yeah, I was right, by the way. So the Qualquality actually has about 93 less EN load than the Viento. So if you're short on energy, go for double Qualquality with that build. And that's what's really again, like now I'm kind of hyped because you talked about that. That is really cool about this game. It's like no joke. If you were ever wondering why in 1.03.1 they nerfed the Haldeman when you just saw it as like a worse Zimmerman, there's a reason they nerfed the Haldeman. The Haldeman was starting to be used even more than the Zim. Like for a short amount of time, people started really picking up on the Haldeman because like a sub-boosted Haldeman, especially back when it was 50% instead of 30%, did a lot of fucking impact. People just assault boost the Haldeman, and then they would assault boost the Haldeman. They would kick with Tetra or like reverse joint, whatever the heck they were running, and then the Haldeman would come back online. They could shoot again, and then they could assault boost and shoot again because they would just recharge fast enough. So they would just do it. They would just keep on the aggression even more than Zimmerman.
Still good even after the patch.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, I love it. It's also just looks really sexy.
Zimmermans are still good. The guy who's winning basically every Japanese tournament still runs dual Zim. It's really funny. It's just on a heavy iPad. Yeah, 432 has been winning a lot of tournaments. Ramen Rook actually sent me their build recently. It is dual Zim with a pulse shield, laser drones on a I can't say this Tin Kiang legs with a Santai, Ocellus, and Burzel, and it is just assault boost the build. It is just I'm gonna assault boost towards you, shoot a Zimmerman, and then assault boost away. And that is the whole.
I mean, it works, dude. Can't complain there.
Yeah, dual Zim is still the meta over there in Japan, which is really funny.
I mean, we got to start learning from them at some point, but
yeah, to use assault boost dual Zim. I'm already on it, homie. I'm
You're already on it. Okay. Well, that's my boy. All right. But yeah, no, like in this game, the parts are way more balanced than any other AC game, to my mind. Because there's like I can always find at least some excuse to use a part, whereas that wasn't true before.
I completely agree.
So yeah, that's the thing. And I guess the last thing I wanted to say on turn speed was just I honestly think that if you just allowed players the ability to, I feel like if you just fix the netcode to where you could actually know what you're dodging, I don't think people would really care or complain as much about being a lightweight. Right? It's just like you think it's turn speed, but in reality, like in a normal real time, if we had somehow where we could connect our computers directly to each other still and do a reverse mode with 0 lag, the meta would look so different because you can actually you could see the projectile coming and then you could jump right at the last second and then the shot would probably go between your legs or something, right?
Yeah.
In your armpit, you know.
Yeah, right.
Not in my armpit. I don't want it there.
But that's not an option because, you know, everyone's playing online, right? Whereas I honestly think that, yeah, if you were a lightweight AC and, you know, when you actually see someone, the little warning, oh, here comes the bazooka, you jump into the air and quick boost to the left and you actually dodge it, you know, I don't think people would really care that much that, oh, I don't have a turn speed advantage, because you can at least use what it is, they want to use their skill to overcome stuff. And online, you're kind of playing on, you're not even playing on reaction, you're playing on strategy. It's more like a strategy game than it is a reaction, like a real-time reaction game, you know?
I can completely agree with that, because I had a match a few days ago where we were trying out, you know, the variability of the different, you know, bazookas to see what the like hit radius is, you know, for the proximity explosion.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I had a really good connection with them, like a really good one, where they actually could, I would say probably around 75% of the time, dodge the bazooka shots, because our connection was that solid.
Whoa.
Where he actually could react properly to the bazookas and it would miss. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think if netcode was not a problem and it was more of a 1-to-1 ratio as far as like shot versus visuals versus movement mechanics, yeah, I think people wouldn't care as much too. I completely agree.
It gets to a point where you learn that, okay, So what lightweight players have been doing right now, at least in the more Western meta? I'm not sure what they're doing over in Japan. I'm getting a Duolingo account soon or some shit. I'm gonna learn. I'm about to go talk to some Japanese. There's gonna be an all Japanese Armored cast where I'm just speaking Japanese the whole time or something.
ChatGPT.
I might grab some players who know a little bit of English and get them on here. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
I'd be super down for that. But what they're starting to do, lightweight players, is they're starting to just react to what might be on the opponent's screen. Like, I know some players who are like, if they see a Majestic, they're dodging into it. As in, like, they're just on their screen, Majestic's going right through them, baby. But on the opponent's screen, it's not, which means they're not getting hit by it. Which is honestly really cool. Like, they're like lightweight, like really good lightweight players are adapting to the netcode, which is very, very strange.
Right, yeah, but that's because, you know, like I said, it's more about you have to know, when you're playing the game at a competitive level, at least in this game, it's more like chess than it is a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to know exactly what the enemy's looking for and when they're looking for it, and then you have to do it early, right? And so it's like, in that sense, it's more about just positioning your moves and timing them correctly than it is about being precise with your quick boosts and your position and your movement, right? Because that's what lightweight AC players generally want to do. They want to be able to be rewarded for just spacing that quick boost just enough to where it threw off your lock, but it also dodges the missiles, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And all of that's gone online. Like, none of that happens at all. So
yeah,
well, I'm not, Striker, are you familiar with the indicators and things like that in the older games at all?
Not really.
Okay, so you get like the pizza indicator we get now, you know?
Yeah,
when someone shoots a big cannon in, that didn't used to be a thing. Like, it was.
Yeah.
So what Royal's kind of hinting at, what you talked about, the lightweight players are kind of predicting when the Majestic's coming out to try to dodge it. Actually, how dodging, generally speaking, has always worked in Armored Core. That's not new. If you were reacting to, for example, the classic GNL grenade launch shot, like from anything from 2 all the way up until the GNL 15, that's the classic grenade launcher for a long time in Armored Core.
The one that Earshot's the descendant of, right?
The Earshot's kind of the
yeah,
the descendant of, yes.
The Gandalf grenade launcher, yeah.
Yes. So Twitch dodging was very popular in the older games, where you essentially would rapid move your strafing on your AC in order to try to throw the projectiles off, so the big projectiles would miss you. So you didn't react to people's shots with the big laser cannons or the big grenade launchers. You pre-dodged. You changed your angular movement. You changed your strafe. You changed your vertical to up or down. You tried to pre-dodge the shot, because if you were trying to dodge after the shot, you were getting hit. That's how Armored Core always worked on the mechanic side. So this is almost like a way of forcing people to do that in an inadvertent way. And I've actually found people, like you talked about, lightweights are doing really good now, trying to predict the Majestic shots. Well, that's how shot dodging always was in Armored Core, was predicting and moving accordingly. That's how it always used to work.
But was that based on latency, or was that based on just like the game being the game? Like, would that same thing happen on LAN?
The game being the game, same thing on LAN. It was no different. So I was classically a heavy biped, and Zealous, as you know from a couple things, was a quad. You know, it was called quadruped before it was called tetrapod. I still call it quads.
Yeah, I call them quads too. But yeah.
He had a GNL, and I knew when he started sliding on the ground with his little quad, I'm like, okay, here's a big grenade about to hit me in the face. So I would then adjust my movement accordingly before he ever took a shot, in the attempt to throw his grenade launcher shot off. That's what you did. Yeah, so pre-dodging is also just as useful as a skill in Armored Core 6.
Yeah, I would just to really quickly add on top of that, though, I think it's worth noting for all the new players that came after the PlayStation 2, a lot of even the most high-end Armored Core PlayStation 2 tournaments happened, like, you know, in the same room. Like, you and your opponent were in the same room, and not only that, you were on the same TV screen, in split screen. So if you look at the old Japanese Silent Line tournaments, you'll see the grand finals is literally one TV screen with half of it being one enemy and the other half of it being your opponent. And so, like, you could literally see exactly what your enemy was doing at all times. And that is like, you there was zero lag. You were on the same TV, on the same console, on the same screen. And so it was, you could actually react perfectly if you if you saw what they were doing, he's on the ground, he's a quad, he's got a grenade. All right, now is my time to preemptively dodge, whatever. Obviously, like after the PlayStation 2 era, you get into the online play and everything starts to change. But for the longest time, I'd say like I think it's the first Armored Core 1 all the way to the end of Armored Core Last Raven. Tournaments were basically literally on the same split screen.
Maybe we're more civilized over here in the West, but we had the Firewire hubs. We had the Firewire hubs where we connected.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So you each have your own TV.
Okay, all right.
Whoa, okay, Claire.
It's like, I've seen some of the players. That sounds awful. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't know what weapon I'm shooting right now. That sounds terrible. But
no, if you look at my opponent's screen and see
screen cheat the game.
I look at my opponent's screen, say that they're about to redline their generator, and shoot my.
Yeah, no, that was literally. That was literally. If you watch the Armored Core Silent Line Japanese Grand Finals, you'll see exactly what I mean.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but yeah, so that the option to like use all the real-time information is not the same anymore. And yeah, traditionally for the longest time, lightweight players had you could skill your way through a lot of problems. Like I said, you know how in this game, if someone just counterpicks your build, you can win, but it's like twice as hard. In at least for I would say up to Armored Core 2, there was some times where even if they counterpicked you. Like, if you were just 2 or 3 times as good at them, it doesn't matter what their build was. Because the turn speed thing again. There was just, there was something where the build just stopped mattering. Like, you could literally overcome a build problem with enough skill. But in this game,
Well,
go ahead.
You just said because of turn speed, when you just made a lot of points saying that turn speed shouldn't come back. But now you're saying that turn speed was a big factor of skill. Like, you're saying that it didn't matter because, it didn't matter, your build didn't matter because of turn speed.
Well, okay, it did be in a way because you got to remember there's two different categories of Armored Core player in the day. There was the people who were just beating the game, and then there was the people who were playing it competitively. And the people who were playing it competitively mastered the controls, and that was a different type of human. Because
an augmented human, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was like not everyone mastered the controls. I think it was just a handful of dedicated players. But if you mastered the controls and you had faster turning speed, the enemy was done. Okay? Because if the enemy did not have the turn speed or did not have your level of control that you had mastered, they were just never. It doesn't matter what the build was, they were never going to touch you. In this game, it's like I said, that's not really the case anymore because you can't perpetually stay behind your opponent forever. And so I get it. It's kind of like you kind of wish you could outskill all your problems and just like make it. But the problem was back then is you just get to the point where builds stop mattering. And in a game that's kind of designed around building, I don't think it's ideal, right? I don't think you should be able to get to a point where you're so good that the enemy's build just doesn't matter.
Yeah, because then you get to the point where you're not changing your play style depending on their build. Like you're not counterplaying them in a certain way. You're just doing the exact same thing over and over again. Like against every. So what I'm understanding, because again, I am basically the viewer surrogate here. I do not know anything about Armored Core 1 PvP. The only footage for Armored Core 1 PvP I know of is in your video where you go over this exact problem, where I see your lightweight just hiding behind the heavyweight and just they can't play the game. I assume you can do that to every single heavyweight in that game. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, you could. If you had master of the controls and they did not, or they had slightly less master of the controls, then yeah, that was the case.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that it's not an issue of like, oh, I can't outplay people anymore. It's, oh shoot, heavyweights are viable now.
Yes, and that's what Cleric was saying. They're not used to heavyweights being viable, and so it feels like they're used to having an advantage on with a certain type of playstyle, with a certain type of build and their skills that is kind of leveled now, because now it's much more build centered. Like you can, like you guys, I love the term you guys came up with. You can win battles in the garage, right? I think that's cool. I actually think that's kind of important, because if the opposite is, if your opponent is, let's just say, half as good as you, they could change their build all they want. They're if they don't have good turn speed and they don't have as much control as you do, then they'll probably never see you before you kill them.
Yeah. See, I actually got a comment recently on one of my videos saying like, I hate how I think actually I know exactly what video it was. It was on the last Armoredcast, even the last one I did before the console one, where they're like, I hate how this game is all copy paste meta builds, like come up with your own thing, blah blah blah. And like at one point, in some way, I understand how they feel, because like you are right, you can win battles in the garage. So just grabbing a build online kind of negates the whole point of like making your build and fine tuning it and stuff like that, and making it your own and making it a very a contender when you're just grabbing one from online. But at the same point, it's like can't really stop that. Like you can't really make that not a factor.
I think you're perfectly right, and I have a hot take on that probably get me in trouble, but
Ooh, your turn. Let's go.
Oh no. Okay. Well, okay, so
well, hey, you're not doing it. You're not doing videos on Armored Core anymore, so it's fine. Like you're good.
Okay.
You're back to Unreal Engine tutorials. You're good. Go for it.
Okay, you're right. But okay, so honest, if you're watching it, if you're not playing Armored Core like competitively and you're just watching it superficially, then yeah, you might assume, oh, I'm losing to this guy. I'll just copy his build and then I'll ditto him and show him, yeah, you suck. It was just your weapons that were better, and I'm gonna beat you with your own AC. And what happens 90% of the time when you try and do that? You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose because he is more comfortable with his AC than you are comfortable with his AC, right? So like it's like that's kind of, I feel like it's a throwaway, just kind of non sequitur argument when people say it's just about builds. Like, well, no, you actually have to become comfortable with your parts, with your style. There's certain play styles that benefit certain ACs with certain player personalities. Like I said, like I'm a missile rat. I'm a dedicated rat on my team. When I go online with 3v3s, I'm the rat. Okay, and I cannot tell you how many times we'll win, and then the entire enemy team just picks rat. and just copies
That's
my design.
Awesome.
And
that is the same as that feeling you get when like you're playing a fighting game. Like we talked about how we all have fighting game backgrounds, like you with Melee, me with Ultimate and Smash 4, and Cleric with Street Fighter. It's like going online and fighting someone, and then they pick your character, and then you kick their ass.
Ditto,
like,
right? Yeah, they challenge you to the ditto, and then they get their ass whooped because they don't know that character, right? Well, it's the same in Armored Core, right? Because what happens is like, okay, they're like, oh, it's just because you got missiles and you're fast and you run away, and it's like, okay, yeah, you pick the AC, and what happens is we get into a missile dogfight and you lose because you don't know how to play rat. You have no idea, you don't understand what you're supposed to be doing, because playing a rat style is a very different style than being in your face with a lobster, right?
Exactly. To explain what a rat and a lobster is real quick, because I always want to go back to this. Eventually I'll make a video on Armored Core terminology one day. But a lobster is a double LRB, double LCS build. It's won a few tournaments by now, a few that I've run even, and it is basically a heavy biped or a heavy quad, where you just have a huge amount of DPS, usually on 128 EN spec gen. It's just a powerhouse of damage, and it's very simple to play because it's all about just positioning. Because at like all the time you're just mashing your fire buttons, like just because you have a billion DPS because the LCS is broken. But anyway, now, the missile rat is a 4 missile build that's usually on a lightweight, like a super lightweight, just as fast as humanly possible. And the whole objective is to just run away from you the entire game. What makes it interesting to fight and play against, though, is it is a me when I fucking get you playstyle. The second you catch them, they die.
Yes, exactly. That's a perfect description. It's the glass cannon of Armored Core.
Exactly. So you might be thinking, oh, that sounds lame, but then you finally catch them and you obliterate them, and you're like, oh, yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, because what happens is when people challenge me to a rat battle, my teammates just one-shot them.
Exactly.
Like, this is like yeah, okay. It's like you don't understand that you have now inherited all of my AC's weaknesses, but you don't have any of the mental fortitude to understand how to use its strengths. And so, like, of course, I got a teammate who's a rat killer. I'm the rat. We have a cat, and we have a cat trap. Yeah. And basically,
I haven't heard cat trap before. That's pretty good.
A cat trap is an AC that is designed specifically to intercept cats and protect your rat.
That's awesome. That's fucking sick. But yeah, so what cats are, by the way, is cats are just builds that are made to just obliterate rats. Like, it is just a 0-1 matchup. Like, they're just as fast as you, but they have laser pistols or something, and they just obliterate you.
Yeah. But the cat trap is designed to intercept them and
so
just stagger them.
This game is so fucking cool. Like, can we talk about
it's fun. But yeah, so like what happens is people copy your design, and then they have no idea what the weaknesses and the strengths are and how they're supposed to be used. So my point is, it's not a real argument. It's really just people coping for their skill most of the time. It's like, it's not about builds. If you try and copy someone else's build, you're still going to lose to them probably. And if you don't, that just means you're a better player. That's really it.
Well, there you go. And also, like, if you're grabbing a quote unquote like a meta build from online, and that's just your whole building style, I mean, you're going to get comfortable with a really good build, but at the same time, you might be thinking, I wonder if I should change out the head. Maybe I should change out the legs. Maybe I'll try out the core. Hey, with this core, I can now run this gen instead. Or hey, maybe I like coral gen better. It's like you will make changes to the build. There is no way you're going to grab like what is called a Rat Knight build currently. That's one of the best builds in the meta right now. It's like it's pulse shield, it's hammer, it's MLTO forehand missile, and VPM on a wrecker leg biped with basho arms, barrel head, and mine alpha core. It's a pretty good build, and I believe CNET actually, who is the one who the Rat Knight build is named after, is actually running a different version of it right now, but this is the one I have, the old one that got second place at Polaroid's Highlander tournament.
Nice. And
did well in my emergency patch tournament. I have a short about him playing that exact build. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, yeah, C-Knight made that build, and yeah, you might get really good with that build, but you're probably going to change it somewhat. I mean, hell, C-Knight himself fucking changed the build, and they're the ones who came up with it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you will adjust the build to fit your playstyle more and more, because this game just has too much customization for you to not do that.
And the last thing, one last thing I just want to say is like, you also have to remember your personality. Like, certain personalities are just not good at certain playstyles. Like, you know, it's like, if you don't enjoy being at a long distance and shooting with missiles, you're not going to be a good rat.
Dude, every time I try to play rat, I get so impatient. Every time. I will be like, because I will be like, okay, well, my win condition here, because I have 2 missiles on my main AC right now. And I'm like, okay, well, my win condition here is just a rat. And then I'll get bored and be like, you know what? It's time for an assault boost Zimmerman into laser blade. I'm just gonna do it, and then I die, and I'm like, well, damn, I shouldn't have done that into the double LCA fucking Born Mizza tank.
I mean, I've tried to use some of your ACs and some of Cleric ACs before. I was like, oh wow, these guys make them look really good and viable, and then I don't have the right personality for it. So of course I'm trying to get really high in the air with my LCS lobster, and then I'm just putting myself in disadvantage. But I feel safe because I'm in the air, right? I feel safe, but it's like, no, dude, this is not how you play this build, you know. Like, dude, and it's like, you know, your personality is a big part of the game, right?
We gotta let Cleric talk in a moment, but I gotta say something. Today on stream, like during my regular Fight Club, I was watching Cyclops play against, I think it was Argon or not Avalon. That's who it was. And Avalon brought out a double LCA, double LRB build on a Born Mizza tank, and then Cyclops has a lightweight build with the VPM and a laser blade on it. I can't remember the other 2 weapons, but I'm like, oh, Cyclops has to rat here. If they don't rat, they die. They have to run away. They have to shoot missiles. They have to time them out, or they just lose. Cyclops gets near them, winds with the laser blade, and instantly dies. They go from 100% AP to 0. It is the funniest clip ever, because like they will get. I will say that they will get close, wind up, and then boom, they are dust. It is the.
Yeah.
It is just the funniest thing in the fucking world. Because I think specifically I say they're dead and then they die. So go ahead, Cleric. Sorry for interrupting you so many times.
No, you're fine. No issues. I was gonna say too. So I made a video. It was like a month or so ago back, I think, called "Stop Raging and Start Enjoying Armored Core 6." It essentially was talking about the thing we're kind of talking about here. The people are so concerned about meta builds, and there's always been quote unquote meta builds in Armored Core. There's always been the best parts, whatever you can use in different builds, but you got to find something that you like using. Like if you don't find something you like using, not only does it not make you, will you not be as competitive depending on what you like using? Yeah, maybe. But we've also found people who said things weren't as good as people made them out to be, and all of a sudden they found a way to make them work. I mean, for how long have you heard people say that everyone said shields absolutely suck in this game outside of Coral Shield?
Yeah. And
How
now
long have people
we're-
been saying that in this game, right?
Yep.
And people are starting to realize, oh,
I was
wait.
one of them actually. I was one of those people. I was like, I'm not a believer in shields.
And now,
Yeah,
and now
suddenly-
the best
Now
player in
it's like,
Japan's using it. The best
Yep.
player, one of the best players in
Yep.
the West is using it. It's like,
Every YouTube video on the planet said, don't use shields, shields suck. Every single video said that pretty much. And now you're seeing shields everywhere. So, I mean, the person who knew that from the beginning and enjoyed it from the beginning now has an advantage. Now, granted, they get called, oh, I see you're just using the meta build now. It's like, no, I've been liking shields
Dude.
since the game came out. That's how I feel about
Well,
Wurger.
the thing is,
I've been loving Wurger since like the first week. And now everyone's like, oh, you're just using Wurger meta builds. Like, no, I love the Wurger the whole time.
Hey, homie, show me a tournament where Wurger's won. That's where I will always say that. I will
Yes,
always say
exactly.
if someone's like, oh, you're just using a meta build, which by the way, don't ever say that to someone. It is the dumbest thing in
That's
the world.
stupid.
It is.
It's dumb.
If you we are having prize pool tournaments like this tournament that literally this weekend that I'm hosting has $1,000 on the line. If you want to practice for that tournament and you want to use a meta build, a build that has won a tournament before or that has shown potential to win a tournament before, like if you're using a rat knife, if you're using a lobster, if you're using a rat, whatever, run it. Because if your goal for this game is to win those tournaments, why not run meta? There is literally no reason to not choose the most effective tool available. That's what meta means. Meta stands for most effective tool available. So why not run it? If your goal is to win tournaments, do it. If you're just pub stomping, that's fine, because your goal is to pub stomp. If you're there to have a good time, run whatever. It does. Because things someone will ask me about their build, and I'll give advice to improve it somewhat, something like that. I'll be like, hey, you should be running this, you should be running that, etc., etc. But if they go, I like that because of just this random subjective reason, I will stop asking them to change it, because that's what they want to run. Their goal is not to have the most optimized build ever. Their goal is to have a build that looks really cool. It's like that. That's fine. That's completely fine.
That's fine. Welcome to Armored Core. Everyone plays the game differently. That's kind of the point of Armored Core. It's kind of how it's always been in general.
Striker, can I add one thing to your awesome monologue?
Go for it.
Okay, if you are one of those players that's just like, oh yeah, it's all stat stick build meta checking or whatever. I really implore you to find the most broken build and use it, because when Striker finally sets up some America versus Japan AC crew battles, we were gonna want you on our team.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's like, homie, if you feel that way, why aren't you playing it? Why
Yeah.
not? There's no reason not to. If you're like, oh man, Dual Zim is so broken, run Dual Zim. From Software is nerfing these things based on win rates. That's what they're doing. They're nerfing and buffing based on usage rate and win rate. If you want Dual Zim banned, or if you want Dual Zim nerfed, run it. Play it. So that way FromSoft goes, Dual Zim is still winning a lot. Maybe we should adjust that somewhat. It's like, just do it. Because the thing is, we're still getting active patches. That's the biggest thing with this game. This is why I'm running no bans tournaments, because I said banned earlier, because I used to say that back when I actually was running bans for my tournament. I was like, if you think it's broken, play it. So I have tournament footage where I can actually ban or restrict an item. I don't do that anymore, because we're getting active patches. If I want to make videos talking about what's broken right now, or what needs to be changed, or what needs to be adjusted, I need to have tournament footage where I'm like, okay, this is tournament footage where we're playing for money, and and they're using these items, they're using these things, and they're not using these things. Now, why is that? Why are they running Dual Zim over Dual Haldeman? Or why are they running Dual Zim over Dual Sweet 16? Why are they running Dual Zim over double Coquellets or double Ducats? Like, why are they doing these things? Well, it's because Assault Boost. Assault Boost is really broken. That's why everyone's running Burzel. If I ban Burzel, I don't have any more tournament footage talking about why Burzel's busted. Like, I could ban Burzel and we'd see a whole new video game. But I don't want to do that, because if I'm going to make content about, like, if I want to make a booster tier list, I won't have footage from tournaments to back up my arguments about why Burzel's the best booster in the game.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track, though. I think things are, like I said, the balance isn't perfect, but it's good enough to where I really don't think a ban is like super validated just yet. Unlike, it'd be different if we had, if there were no patches and Zimmermans were still wreaking havoc, but it's kind of tame now. Like, yeah, they're still the best, obviously, because Japan's beating everybody with dual Zims, but but it's not dominating the way we used to see it, and I think that's kind of a good thing to say. It's like you know how in like fighting games, I'm just gonna use Smash because I'm used to it. How a player will win a major tournament, and everyone will just assume like their character is the best character in the game, right? Well, like I think it's not necessarily it could be true, but more than likely, what's actually happening is a professional player loved the way a certain character was able to
Look,
express.
homie, just say Hungry Box. Like, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
a
okay,
guy.
okay,
Just
right,
say Hungry, just say Hungry Box and Jigglypuff, man. I get it. Like, it's
yeah, Hungry Box vibed with Jigglypuff on a level that nobody else did, and now he's and then he kicked everyone's ass, right? Does that mean it's just like, are you gonna pick up Jigglypuff and win a major? Probably not, unless you love playing the way Hungry Box loves to play. And
I take your Hungry Box and I raise you an Amsa with Red Yoshi.
Okay, all right. Amsa's cool though. I gotta give it to him. But basically, like, maybe it just so happens that dual Zims happen to complement the best player in Japan's playstyle in a way that no other weapons do. And if we had someone who was equally good with LCS or something, and it just happened to vibe with a certain AC that they wanted to play, we might see him be dethroned at some point by some, I don't know, double earshot method or something like that.
Are we real? We might see double Zimmerman over here too, because I know Risa has picked up Risa, who got second place at the preset tournament that happened a while ago, has picked up dual Zim. So all right. We might see the same meta over here in the West too.
I'll happily stand corrected on that, by the way. But yeah.
But anyway, like I completely understand what you're talking about, because the reason why I'm so adamant about no bans, because we're still getting patched, is that once the second that we stop getting patches and they're fully working on Armored Core 7 and they're no longer supporting this game or anything like that, we're gonna have bans. We're hella gonna have bans, because of course we are. But
There's always been bans, by the way. That's not new.
Exactly. That is another thing. Like people got upset that I banned certain things. It's like, apparently Verdict Day has had stuff banned for forever when it comes to tournaments.
It's every single
Last Raven, Nexus, Silent Line. Go back as far as you want. They all had bans.
I mean, the Kurosawa in Armored Core 1 even. Wasn't that like the best weapon in the game by far, or was it the Moonlight? Something like that.
It was Kurosawa.
Yeah. And then the Kurosawa in Armored Core 2 was like almost as... Well, it was pretty bad too. But yeah, there's always been bans, and that's nothing new. Other mech games, like I did one Daemon X Machina tournament my entire life, and it was really fun. I got fourth. It was really fun. I did dual melee. It was awesome. Nice.
But they had to ban the best melee weapon in the game because it was just on every what are they called? Arsenal. Every single arsenal had it because it was just that powerful. You had to run it on your build, or you're just gonna straight up lose to another like best melee weapon. I can't remember what it's called. But it was super unhealthy, so they had to get rid of it. It's like, it will always happen. If you think about Street Fighter 2 and like, what was it, Akuma in Street Fighter 2, Cleric?
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, yep. It was 2 in Super Turbo.
Exactly. It's like there will always be bans when it comes to competitive games, because it just needs it, especially if it's not getting patched anymore. Now, with games that have support, like, it'd be weird in the game, like, I'm going to take a horrible example here, like Overwatch, if a character got banned, because, like, Blizzard would just nerf them. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah.
But
we don't need bans until the patches stop coming.
Exactly. If someone wants to run like a StarCraft, the StarCraft 2, like one of the oldest esports of all time, does that have bans at all? I don't know if it does. It might.
No.
You might have to look into that. That could be interesting.
I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So yeah, everyone stop using earshot. Okay, no one use it anymore. I want to use it. No, everyone stop using it. I want to use that some more. Okay.
So the moral of the story is, stop using things that you don't don't
use what you want.
So use what you want to have buffed. Stop using them so they get buffed.
Use what you like, guys. This is seriously. I feel vindicated because I feel super vindicated because back when the game started, I was strictly a terminal armor user, and everyone said it was garbage. But I don't know. For me, it just worked, especially in teams.
You play threes. You play threes. Though. Terminal armor is hella meta in threes.
And then like all of a sudden, after the Zimmermans were nerfed, everyone on 3v3s is running terminal. I'm like, what did I tell you guys? I'm so vindicated right now. I'm not even gonna hide it. Dude, you might like to whoever's listening, you might actually just know something that the community doesn't. It's possible. There might be parts that work for you that just other people don't use. And they're just using them wrong, and then it turns out, oh wow, that part's actually great. We just didn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will. It blows me away how freaking cool this game is sometimes. Like there is the fact that we
yeah.
have people innovating builds. Like there's a reason why the Rat Knight's called a Rat Knight. It's because C Knight showed up with a whack ass looking build and just started like taking, third, second places and stuff like that. We're like, wait a second, what the fuck? It's like, excuse me. That build seems really good. And now it's like one of the meta builds in the game. It's like you could be the next C Knight. You could make a build that, maybe even just hard counters Rat Knight. Good luck, but it's just like there are innovators out there. I mean, we're seeing Born Miza players actually. Like we saw in the 3v3 tournament, Born Miza legs did really, really well, and people thought Born Miza after it got nerfed was dead. Like one VPM beats it, one laser drone beats it. But now people are getting so good at Born Miza tank movement that Born Miza tank looks like it might need to be touched again. Like, no joke, Born Miza might be insane just because people are getting better at the game, better at moving with limited options. Like there was a meme when the game first came out about like kick movement with tanks because the kick would carry momentum. But now that's a legit thing. That is a legitimate thing that people are doing because the assault boost got nerfed so hard on tank legs, on Born Miza legs. Now people are just moving around using kicks. So it's like you say that you can rat a Born Miza player until they start kicking in your direction. And it's like, now they're
there's so much to discover that we have not found out yet for sure. And I just think, if you're
so cool.
Complain about a meta, it's like, dude, you probably haven't even developed your own build yet, right? Like,
well, another thing is, if you're complaining about meta, use it, win with it, so From Software gets rid of it. Like that's another thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or hey, what you could do, and this is an evil thing you could do: run dual Zims heavyweight with Burzel, and then just keep losing. Just throw.
Don't do that, guys.
Do not listen to that. Do not listen to that.
I think From Software is smart enough to get the Seath past that. But man,
who's the striker Hutassa guy who keeps going with dual Zim heavyweights, keeps losing matches? What's going on?
Maybe that player just sucks real bad. I don't think dual Zims is bad. I think that guy just sucks.
It's like they look at the player record. It's like it seems like everyone losing with double earshots loses in the first 10 seconds.
Interesting. It seems like they're choosing grade 12 and just jumping off the map. Weird. It's like.
Oh no, but I just love there's a whole lot of depth to it that just hasn't been explored yet. Like the game is really young still too, compared to a lot of like when people were asking for what was it? People were asking for bans like 2 weeks in, right? Like, with this ban,
but then again, I will say that was a bit more justified because
I mean, yes, yeah, but
it didn't matter. 2 weeks into it looked about the exact same as a week before the patch. I'll be real.
Fair enough. But yeah, it was like, God, guys, the game's been out for a week. Come on, man. Like, yeah. No, it's all good. There's a lot of stuff to explore, and I'm all for it.
It drives me crazy.
I said my piece on that. I said my piece.
It drives me crazy because if we had the game balance that we do now, back when the game launched, I feel like we would retain so many players. Game developers, delay your games. Delay them, please. It's so good for it.
I know.
Like I would have much rather waited like a month or two for Armored Core 6. Like I'd be okay with it coming out, yesterday. If it was more balanced, if the mechanics were more thought out and more interesting. Like not interesting, but like more thought out and more balanced. Like Assault Boost, for instance. Why was Assault Boost 50% extra impact and extra damage and 50% less impact and less damage taken? Like why was that the initial idea? Like how in the world was that okay? That must have been like I'll just put 50% here as a placeholder and then we'll adjust it later.
Okay, well I as a developer I can tell you the answer.
But perfect. There you go. Because I forgot you are a developer. That's true.
I mean, like, here's because when you're developing the game, the reason why a lot of devs will just kind of they'll have a general idea of what the stats should be, right? But when let's just say you have 50 people working on your team, which is not true for Armored Core. They had like thousands, but let's just pretend you have a team of 50 people and you're on a deadline and you're behind. The game is coming out in 6 months and the story mode's still not complete. We're missing reverse joint legs. The emblem, the decals don't work. The custom color paint jobs system is still kind of halfway there, right? You're paying people by the hour on the team to finish the game, right? So let's just say you have 50 people and you have, I'm just gonna say 20 3D artists and 30 programmers. Let's just pretend that was
Yeah.
layout, right? Well, you could have a couple of those guys test balance out the whole time, 8 hours a day, on the paycheck, right? Or you could have those guys build the game,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, okay, I could have them build the background environments for the story, which needs to be done, or I could have them spend their time adjusting numbers, which may or may not be changed anyway after we do a patch, right?
That's a good point, because also, like, what if you adjust those numbers and then something randomly just breaks? You know what I mean? Like, what if they adjusted the assault boost, the assault boost damage numbers, and then all of a sudden, like, assault boost is doing this weird hitching thing. It's like, well, because I know programming can get like really weird. Like, I dabbled in programming a little bit. I was supposed to go and get my object-oriented programming degree, but that didn't work out. But I messed with it a little bit back in high school, and sometimes that just happened. You change something and be like, "What? How did this randomly, like, this not even associated thing break?"
Well, there's always that, but it's just like when you're paying people by the hour to build a game, you want to make sure that the time that you are telling them to spend before launch is gonna lead to guaranteed results, right?
Mm-hmm.
And balancing stats is like an abstract result, right?
Yeah, it's not guaranteed income or anything like that for your company.
Yeah, it's like if you tell a guy to test these stats for 2 hours, okay, well in 2 hours, guess what? As a 3D artist, I could make 14 animations. All right, like
it's a lot of animations. God dang.
Yeah, but I mean, using like some new software and stuff. But I'm just saying, like, so I could guarantee you 14 more animations in the game, or I could maybe experiment which numbers and tell the programmer this should be 50 instead of 40, right?
Mm.
Like, so there's a direct correlation to, okay, what can we guarantee as progress, and what's not as important for the game to be at least functional, right? So that's why a lot of I guarantee you they were just like, what's a number for assault boost resistance, and the director probably just said, let's just try 50. And like,
in that exact tone.
Yeah, so that's probably what happened.
It's like, I don't know, 50.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, that was too much, and then they nerfed it, right? But that's the it's not a sexy answer, but that's probably what happened.
I wasn't looking for a sexy answer. I'm good. I don't need that right now.
You want a funny answer?
Sure.
Go for it.
So the bazookas that came out when the game first came out, right? And the most recent patch made them much better. So when I was at the July preview event, we played like the first chapter of the game up through Balteus.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
The bazooka was worse before the launch version of the bazooka.
Really?
It was even worse than the actual than the launch version of bazooka. That's fucking funny.
Yes, yeah, and the funny thing is they actually buffed it twice, because when I used it between then and when I used it, we didn't get to use it in the actual PvP showcase 3 weeks later, but we were testing some of the parts on the new build of the game, and we noticed quite a few parts had changed stats and changed functions. And then when the game came out again, the full game came out a few weeks later, sure enough, some part stats had changed, and that some of the mechanics had changed again, how some of them function. So yeah, they were actually making live adjustments like reiteratively throughout the entire process up until the day it was launched, pretty much.
See, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, hearing that, because that basically just said, these are just going to be numbers, and there's no way we're going to get them right the first time. So let's just focus on building what needs to be there. And we're going to use these events to get some test data to quickly make adjustments before a real launch. That's pretty much what they did.
I mean, hey, where do I sign up my events for that? Because I'll do that. Look, I'll host as many events as you want, Bandai. I am down. I will host weekly events, and you can look at those and make balance adjustments from there.
They'll look at those too for sure, because I mean the Japanese devs will if Japanese players are visiting American tournaments, then the devs are going to see that.
I need to make that Duolingo account, dude. I gotta.
Rosetta Stone, bro.
You're the Rosetta Stone. Thing is, like, because okay, part of me really hopes that they do look at Western tournaments as well than just Japanese tournaments, because like over here in the West, like that's a perfect example. The Fasan on Japanese tier list is way higher than we have it. So it's like, what do they know that we don't? Because like the Fasan has never done well in the tournament, and honestly, I don't really have faith that it's ever going to do well in tournament. But the LCS, which they have rated lower, has won like 4 events by now, like 4 or 5 events, like cash prize events.
You know what it is? I can tell you the answer, actually.
What is it?
It's the same reason why certain characters do better in Japan with Smash Bros. Right? America has a very aggressive playstyle in general, which is like Fox, Roy, Joker, all we like to just fight. Okay.
True.
The Japanese players, on average, they're more strategic and defensive. They like to play characters that require a good spacing, a lot of like strategy, and they like to play at their own pace and take it and slow the game down. And so when you see Japanese and American players fight each other, at least before Steve and Kazuya came out, like they would say stuff like, "Oh, Zero Suit Samus sucks, Fox sucks, blah blah blah," And then meanwhile, Fox is, Light is killing everybody with Fox. Mars is like kicking ass with Zero Suit, right? And then in Japan, it's like those characters aren't doing as well. But the reason, like we said before earlier, is because the personality affects a lot. If Japanese players are trying to play Fox defensively, well, of course he's not going to get good results. He doesn't benefit from being played defensively the same way he gets benefits from being played offensively, like here in America, right? So that's probably why. It's just like they have a more strategic kind of like calculated way of playing that probably favors certain parts, whereas over here we have a different way of playing that probably favors other parts.
I actually love that you said that because
any day.
Zangief. Because now I know why Min is such a fucking terror over there. I know we're narrowcasting right now for Smash players.
Oh yeah.
Min has been terrorizing Japan for so long, and I always was like curious why Min was so much better in Japan. Like Piranha Plant, for instance, one of the best players in Japan plays fucking Piranha Plant, who's like solidly bottom tier over here in the West. So it's just like that's so weird to me. But I get, what, that makes sense.
Yeah, because then Min, you remember first time Proto Bantam came over here. He fought Roy, and he thought, "Oh, I'm just gonna mop him," and then Roy beat him because Roy's not a good player. Roy's not a good character in Japan generally. Like before that, and all the comments in Japanese, if you could read them, like for me, I'm half Japanese, so I can kind of read it. But like all the comments were basically being super wowed and surprised at seeing how good Roy can be when played offensively. Like
that's the way cool. Does. So that makes so much sense. Fuck.
Yeah. So that's why the tier list look different, is because they have a different style of playing compared to what we do. We're impatient. We like action. We like to fight, and we gravitate towards weapons that kill you quickly. That's what we.
This is actually very true. Even in the Silent Line and Last Raven tournaments for Armored Core, you watch their gameplay versus American gameplay. It's vastly different. It's not even remotely close to the same game.
Yeah, they love playing speed, movement, precision. We love playing the best gun that will take your life as quickly as possible.
we like playing gun. It's like,
right.
Merca.
That's awesome. This one from Let's Talk About old Armored Core mechanics and if they should come back or not, to let's talk about the difference between Japanese and American meta. And honestly, I'm kind of down with that. I kind of like that.
Oh, I mean, it's a podcast, bro. You can take it whatever direction you were going. I was just kind of bouncing off.
It's my show, and I said that last week. I was like, it's my show. It's a dictatorship. It's
it's fair. It's your podcast,
honestly, I'm very down with the direction this show took. Honestly, I really do like it. Now, I do want to get back to the original concept a bit because I did promise that we would talk about radiators at some point. So guys, y'all seem very nervous about this.
Cleric, you can just talk about radiators. I don't even have anything to say. All right.
What are radiators? Like what are the It's like I don't know what those are.
Are you familiar with cars? I assume you know what a radiator does in a car, right? Cools your car down. Well, engine down specifically.
Cleric, I not particularly.
He had no clue.
Look, I played funny video game for a living. I don't know how to. The best thing I can do is I can change my tire. And I change my oil.
Gotcha. Yeah, talk to the guy who's really done all of his own brakes and calipers, whole 9 yards. So, yep, self-sufficiency.
Calipers is an awesome relic in Slay the Spire. I know that. But, like...
Nope. No, that's the thing that keeps your brakes on your tire. But, okay, anyways. No, radiators, they came up in Armored Core 2 and were persistent all the way through up and through Last Raven. Essentially, it was the part that you use to cool your AC down. So the way I kind of relate this to people who only play Armored Core 6 is kind of replace the ACS mechanic with the heat mechanic. So weapons in 2 through Last Raven had a heat stat to them. So essentially, your damaging or your shots would not just do straight damage, it also would cause more heat to be applied to your enemy AC. And once your heat hit a certain level, it would cause your AC to go into a burn. When you went into a burn, you would rapidly lose AP and your energy gauge would start depleting.
Huh.
So the radiator essentially was designed, had a couple of different stat values. The main one was called general cooling and forced cooling. General cooling was how well it cooled your AC down normally. Forced cooling was how quickly it cooled you down after your AC went into a burn.
That is...
So basically, imagine Armored Core 6, where your stagger bar went up if you boosted.
That...
Okay.
I don't... Wait, so what was
Yes.
the... Okay.
But
so
the radiator would make it go up less. That's
my
imagine
immediate
that.
thought. Wait, so was a radiator a part like an engine or like an FCS?
Like a generator. It was like a generator.
It was
yeah.
like
Okay.
you had generator also. Yeah, it's like it was another part like a generator.
So it was a different part. Okay, because my immediate thought was like, okay, so everyone had a radiator, I assume. And
Yeah,
then
And
everyone had
some
one.
of them were light, some of them were heavy, some of them were medium weight. It was, yeah.
My
there was,
second
like,
thought
heavy
was,
radiators.
well, if I'm punished for using my quick boost, I'm just never gonna quick boost. Was that the case? Like, did you just never?
Oh no, then you just get shot and get overheated a different way.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
there you
had
go.
to balance your heating, and it was like, okay, a lot of people, they just built ACs that had great cooling and radiation, and and they were usually a little bit slower because you had to have better radiators and you had to tune your parts to cooling and stuff. And
So that was actually a balancing factor too for light versus heavy in the later games, especially.
yeah,
The heavier ACs tend to have better cooling, and the lighter ACs had worse cooling. So it was actually a way for heavies to get a little bit of an advantage over lights back in those games. It was a little bit of a balance factor in that sense.
that's
But
true.
yeah, it's boosting can cause you to, if certain boosters had higher heat values than other ones. Certain
Faster
actually,
boosters had had worse heat, and slower
Correct.
boosters had good heat.
and
So
your generators, there was something called the calorific value on your generator. Your calorific value on the generator was a stat that essentially made it so the higher your calorific value, the higher your general heat was on your AC, which made it that much easier for you to get into a burn.
Your calorific. I don't know what that word means.
the better your generator was, the more heat it would put on usually.
Correct. The
And-
bigger, more massive generators had a higher calorific value, which means you had a higher steady heat value, which means you can get into a burn much faster.
Okay, I'm looking up calorific value on Google right now. Calorific.
Big
Okay, so
term.
it's heat of combustion. Calorific value, the energy contained in a fuel or food, determined by measuring the heat. Oh, okay, I know what it is now. Oh my god, calories. Oh my god, I'm so fucking dumb.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
well,
you're good, bro. You're good.
anyway,
Needless to say, I'm glad it's gone.
yeah, that sounds really annoying.
Most people are.
That sounds extremely annoying. That sounds very. I don't.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad it's not back to. It was a very prohibitive mechanic, but I
Yeah.
loved it.
Oh no.
I mean, yeah, it was. Oh my god, it's just like you
I
wanted
loved
to
it
make
so
an AC,
much.
but you had to build around your radiator first if you wanted to have decent movement options, and it was kind of restrictive. But
I mean, I'd rather have that mechanic than if I'm playing a lightweight and I get staggered once I fucking die.
I agree
That's
with
true.
You. I agree
Although,
with you. I agree
In all
with you.
fairness, my signature in the old Armor Core forums for a long time was all the skill and training in the world doesn't matter if your energy gauge never recharges. That was my mantra for a long time. And I used to build my build specifically on just causing people to be into a burn, and you stay in a burn.
That's awesome. So that's why you loved it, because you abused the fuck out of it. Is that what you're saying, Clay?
Yeah. He's
Well,
probably a
in the first
master.
game, yes, you couldn't abuse it as much later. It was very
see.
rough in Nexus. It got balanced out pretty heavily towards later games.
It still sucked, even in Last Raven. I'll say that, but
Yeah, it was still kind of rough.
yeah.
I feel like I could like the ACS stability system that we have right now. I feel like I could really like it, but they just got to tweet with numbers, because like attitude recovery on lightweights I feel like is still a bit too low, especially because of how good Burzel is. It's like I'm fighting a heavyweight, right? And I'm playing a lightweight. My stagger bar gets a bit too high, so I start disengaging, and then they Burzel boost towards me. It's like, well, cool. I can't disengage because you're like 40 points slower than me, despite having like 400 more attitude stability or more. It's like, well,
Man, okay, so I'm gonna make a very rare, like, slightly constructive criticism of Armored Core 6, even though I love the game to death. I agree with you that I think, for me, the stagger system is a little too important, I think. Because this was like a completely new thing, especially for an old player coming in who doesn't play Dark Souls. I literally just played Armored Core. That was like Armored Core and Smash and Halo. Those were the games I played. But
You
yeah,
sound
so
like me back in
Stagger-
high school.
Well, yeah, way back. But like I kind of don't like how there's so many stats that have traditionally been in Armored Core. There's AP, energy, attack power, energy drain, energy output. There's all these really, really, really cool stats that traditionally have been in Armored Core and been important in Armored Core forever. And all of a sudden, the most important stat in Armored Core is a stat that's not from Armored Core at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, nothing matters until you get your stability check, right?
Well-
It's like, oh yeah, I could have, I love this machine gun. It's got great weight. It's got great energy drain. It has a lot of ammo. It has a pretty good range for how close I am. It works well with my FCS, but it has garbage stagger when compared to other weapons like the Viento or the handguns or even rifles. And it's just like none of those stats even matter anymore because stagger is important. Right?
You know what's weird? Coming from a Souls player perspective, there's this thing in Elden Ring, and this was the Dark Souls 1 poise mechanics that came back for some reason, even though people love Dark Souls 3 poise, where you have to have a certain amount of poise to poise different things. I'm gonna talk about pre 1.10 for the Elden Ring players that are listening now. I'm gonna talk about pre 1.10 numbers because it's more important back then. But let's say someone was running an Ashen Warlock Flame Strike. It does 100 poise damage, so I want to have at least 101 poise. Well, a lot of the armor in the game, besides the heavier stuff, has really bad poise values. So a lot of competitive players were wearing the exact same armor, mainly the Tree Sentinel gear or the Veterans gear. So every single player that was playing, at a competitive level or playing like a poise efficient build would just run those. It would just run Tree Sentinel armor or Veterans armor or Bill Goat's armor or something like that, because you basically had to have over 101 poise, or you get fucked over by Storm Stomp, you get fucked over by Power Stance Straight Sword, Power Stance Spears. So you needed it to get a certain poise breakpoint. And it feels like they took that mechanic and for some reason put it in Armored Core. So now it's like before, I believe it was 1660, I believe, is what you needed to survive a dual Zim shot pre-nerf, right? It was something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, you have to have at least 1660 stability or you just auto lose to dual Zim. Now you can always assault boost the dual Zims, and now you just can't, now it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. But for a standing dual Zim shot, you had to get a certain amount of poise. And I was like, that's oddly familiar. That sounds weird. That sounds like something that they did in Elden Ring that people really hated.
So to your point, and come down also a little bit. So I agree that it's probably a little too important of a stat. I think it is a little too ACS centric as far as the building and also the gameplay itself goes. But I think if you honestly make it so a cumulative stagger goes down a lot faster, I think you cause a lot of those problems to go away. I realize you're going to have the mass burst stagger still, but I think if accumulated stagger would degrade much faster, I think you fix a lot of those problems.
Now, you also ruin a lot of weapons by doing that. Because think about melee for a moment. A lot of melee weapons in this game just don't fucking work without stagger. Like Laser Dagger, you'd only see the charge attack, like ever. Chainsaw, you would never see it. Stun Baton, it's still bad. Like it'll just be even worse.
Oh, I didn't say stagger damage. I said accumulated, like how quickly it goes down.
Yeah, I'm saying that like
you get afflicted with it.
I see what you mean. So basically, if everyone had like 150 attitude recovery, it wouldn't be nearly as a problem. But then I feel like you're also like you're making burst stagger even better. Like we're already running, like we're already seeing people run dual Zims still, like assault boost dual Zims.
I like where Cleric's taking this. I was gonna have the opposite approach if I was God and I could wave the magic wand and do what I wanted to this game. I was gonna do the thing. I think stagger. I'm of the belief that you want your players to be able to play the game most of the match, right? And I think they did a lot of good stuff, the first patch, which really got stagger a little bit in control, where, it was kind of ridiculously crazy. And after the patch, we kind of saved PvPs. But I would say that, like, before the first patch, it was kind of like you would spend more time in stagger than you would actually play the game.
And this is why I think we get into mechanics, because like I think flinching is really annoying. Like getting hit by a charge Wooger when you're about to do like, because I play a lot of Laser Blade. Laser Blade sucks. It's terrible, but I've gotten really good with it, and it's really fun to use. When I charge up a Laser Blade attack, and then I get kicked or Wooger punched or literally anything that does flinch, and all of a sudden my big cool greatsword just doesn't work anymore, and my character goes, "Oh, ow, wow, what was that?" It sucks.
Then you cool.
It feels
cooling,
it sucks so much, and it sucks even more when I'm in stagger and I get Zimmerman shot to kick to Zimmerman shot. It's like I want to play. Let me play. Like I had a match today, even
you spend more time in stagger than you do actually in the fight.
Exactly. I was against a reverse joint. I believe it was a reverse joint. I was at 50% AP. I got staggered by a kick. They Zim shot me. I went to it. My stagger was extended. Then they RJ kicked me. My stagger was extended, and then they hit me with another Zimmerman, and I died. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
I had half my HP, and then all of a sudden, all control was taken away from me. I couldn't counterplay at all, and I was just dead. It's like
you weren't even playing the game. You're not even playing the game at that point. So
that sucks. But like at the same time, if they got rid of stagger as a mechanic entirely, a lot of weapons would just be completely unusable, which would be unfortunate.
Well, yeah, that's why I want to get rid of it, though. I think with melee weapons, the thing I've wanted on melee in this game from the beginning. Because I agree with you, and you do like I love Laser Blade too, but yeah, exactly. You get hit with anything, and all of a sudden, oh, it's gone. I think what I've wanted on melee weapons in this game from the beginning is super armor.
The twin blade has it?
Yeah, exactly. That's my problem with it. I feel like I think all the melee weapons should have it. I think that's how you fix that problem.
Well, I was gonna say I think stagger should have been handled more like breakable parts were in Last Raven, where it wasn't something you expected to happen all the time, right? It was like if you shot your opponent's arms for like the whole match, after 2 minutes, you could just destroy their arms, and then now they're operating without arms.
Like it's a fucking shield break from Smash. I'd actually love that so much. That'd be so good.
Oh yeah.
But the cool thing was it wasn't
legs.
common.
Same thing.
Right? All right. Like the cool thing, it wasn't something that you wouldn't strategize around this this mechanic. It was just kind of something that would happen every now and then, and if it did happen, you were kind of fucked. But sorry, I know this is YouTube. You can edit
I say
later.
fuck all the time.
It's okay, all right.
But how YouTube works is that in the first like 30 seconds, you can't say a swear. That's it.
Oh, okay,
that's
okay. Yeah.
It is so.
I just don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble. But
it's fine.
That's how bad it was if you lost your head or your core or your legs or your arms. But like it wasn't something that happened very commonly, and you would never strategize around it, right? I think stagger should have been. I think stagger could be fine if you made it more rare. Like it built up after a lot more shots, and maybe it happened, once, maybe twice per match. Right? Like
I'd be so down if because stagger feels to me it's a burst damage mechanic, right? It feels like it was designed to kind of balance out Bone Mizza legs or boat legs or something like that. Where once you get them staggered, then they take a bunch of damage, and then all of a sudden it's even because lightweights are way harder to stagger, where heavyweights are way easier to stagger. The issue is that you also gave Born Mizza legs. Like I'm swapping the Born Mizza legs right now. I'm just my main AC. I have 2,455 attitude stability and 64 attitude recovery. If they stop attacking me for just like a little bit, all their work is gone.
Yeah.
If they made it so attitude recovery didn't exist as a stat, but gave every part a huge attitude stability boost, we're like, okay, this match has gone on for a long ass time. Someone's getting broken soon. That could be really interesting. I'd be down with that.
Well, also just think about it this way, where the alternative, which I think would be equally fun, is if you just make it to where only really risky weapons do a lot of stagger. Like only blades or melee weapons could possibly stagger you in one shot, maybe.
That could be neat.
And guns and projectiles and missiles, because in this game you could shoot 10 missiles and they're at half stagger bar, right? Or you could risk your life and do a charge, linear rifle. And do the same amount of stagger, right? And it's just like, well, why would I stay in one place and do 50% stagger when I could be moving constantly and do 50% stagger, right?
Exactly.
And so it's just Okay, well, I think you could solve a lot of problems if you just said, okay, well, most weapons, especially ranged, safe weapons, or weapons that don't require me to get into a stance, just, it's going to take a while for them to build your stagger bar up. But if you get a charged laser blade, yeah, that's 70% stagger because you took a risk going in there in their face, and so that's another way you could maybe balance it, is if you just had it to where only really risky, melee weapons would do a lot of stagger. And the guns would have to build it up slowly.
Yeah, I'd be really down with that, because Melee also has so many problems. Melee, honestly, I might make a whole Armored cast about Melee just specifically, because because there are a few people like Thermidor and Lorebones I can have on for that, because there's some really, really good Melee players, because shields just obliterate Melee. Like a pulse shield, one of the best shields in the game that's on like half of the meta builds right now. If you have one of those and you're a Melee player, you might as well just forfeit, because like if your whole goal is to hit your attack and you hit your big swing up attack and they block 80% of that impact, it's like, well, fuck me, I guess. And they have PA interference, but like it's like on Laser Blade it's 127. Like that's not a lot. Or like on Pulse Blade, which we see a lot as an opener, 147 PA interference. That's not a ton.
Well, you know how they fixed that in the old Armored cores, and Cleric can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not as well versed in the recent like Armored Core 4 and 4 answer. But in the old Armored cores, they fixed this by just giving melees no limit. Like you could just do it if the laser blade animation finished, you could just do another one. That's how it used to be.
It was pretty close to that. Not quite, but pretty close.
That would be so funny. Could you imagine someone's like, dude, we'd have a fucking Evo moment, like what it's like Evo moment 42, right? Where like the guy parries Chun-Li's super. 37, yeah. But like 42 is a fucking answered everything number. I forgot. There's so many funny numbers out there. God dang it. Anyway, so
all good.
We would have the moment where like someone's got a pulse blade, right? And they just keep swinging the fucking pulse blade, and like someone's just parrying it over and over again until they can finally escape. It's like that would be so hype. That'd be so fucking cool. Could you imagine how awesome that would be?
Yeah, it wasn't quite like you couldn't. Okay, you could cancel the animation if you landed technically in the older armor. Like if you were playing Armored Core 1, 2, or 3, like you had the laser blade animation took like 1/6 of a second. It was like slash, slash, slash. Like that's the speed you could do it. But if you did a slash in the air and you timed it to where your feet hit the ground, then you could do slash, slash. You could cancel the animation. And some people would try and shield, and you would have to they'd get the first one, and then if they didn't expect the second one, as soon as your feet touch the ground, then you'd get that second one. But yeah, they used to just this was not a problem before, because there was no such thing as cooldown on laser blades. It used to just not be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask the question then, to further derail the conversation, if that's okay.
Sure. It's no wrong, just right. Cleric, go for it.
So we're talking about things from old games a little bit. This kind of goes to the conversation. It's old mechanic in the game plus what we've been discussing this whole time, kind of. So let me get your thoughts real quick, both of you. So right now, obviously 3v3 is different because it's based on points, which I think the system is awesome, by the way. I love the 3v3 system in this game. I think it's a very smart way of doing it. But the 1v1, the winner is either decided by whoever blows up first loses, or percentage of AP.
Yeah,
now, I like that.
Percentage of AP is not how it used to be. It used to be
heard this argument before.
Lead, period.
Yes, I used to hear this argument, but I have a very strong feeling that they saw, like, they decided to take out turn speed and everything like that, and they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't make it so whoever has the most AP, like, just flat out wins at the end of a timer, because could you imagine, okay, so how lightweights are making waves right now, not making waves, but how lightweights are trying their absolute best to keep up, is controlling the flow of the match. They get a few hits in, and all of a sudden, you have 3 minutes, because we use 3-minute timers. That's how most 1v1 tournaments work. That's all my events work. That's how that's what it is, 3 minutes. So, the Born Mesa player has 3 minutes to get damage on them. So, they are controlling the flow of the match the entire time. If I had to do, let's see, so a Born Mesa tank has about, like, I'm just going to look at it here, 1700 AP. If I put on Knock Rider legs, I go down to, like, I don't know, 8,000 AP, or like 9,000 AP, something like that. If I have to chew through 8,000 AP before I force you to approach me, that's a problem. It's like that.
All right, you have convinced me. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. It's kind of hard to make that. I don't know. I feel like it's really hard because you know how you were saying people wanted turn speed. Okay. Well, we're already at a point where lightweights got faster and heavyweights got slower, and with that difference alone, we already have the missile rat, where, let's just, my missile rat has an average thrust speed of 400. So if you don't have at least 340 speed, you're never catching me. Ever. All right.
You want SPD boosters with your missile rat?
Yeah. I got, what's it called? I got the, they are called...
3v3 is wild, because how missile rats work in 1v1s is, I'm just going to go ahead and load one up real quick. They usually have about 580 boost assault boost thrust speed with Burzle. That's how they work in 1v1s.
Well, okay. So the boosters that I run is the BST G2 P06 SPD. They have the highest thrust
SPD,
power. Yeah, the SPD,
yeah.
Right? Because when you're a rat, the most important thing is maintaining constant distance between you and your enemy while still being able to shoot accurately. And the way for me, at least for the way I play, it's much easier to do that when you just have a really high normal thrust speed. Because, like I said, my AC has an average thrust boost speed of 400. So if you don't have at least 320, 330 speed, so that when you assault boost, you reach 400, you're just simply never going to catch me. Now, can you imagine if we added turn speed to that? Right?
I can't imagine it, actually. I can't.
Can you imagine how your chances of catching me went from 10 to 4, right? Percent, maybe? Like, it's just, because that's the problem with lightweights.
You lose. GG, goodbye.
Yeah, like, the problem with lightweights is if you make them any faster, you literally just disqualify heavyweights from being able to interact with them completely.
Now, I will say, build lock, actually, is a thing that we're doing right now in my tournament, with the $1,000 tournament. I feel like I feel like lightweight rats are kind of dead because of build lock, where you can't change your build at all, because
and that's good.
Exactly, that's very, very good. But in a more like casual like pub setting, I feel like that's an issue.
Obviously, if you're as soon as you run into any AC that has a lightweight build and double Vientos or double shotguns, you're screwed. You're just you're not fast enough to outrun that while they're quick, cubing towards you, assault boosting towards you. But that's why I'm very hesitant to give lightweights really any more buffs than they have already now, because if you make them any faster, the heavyweights are never catching them, and they're already struggling to catch. Like right now, I think one of the when I go on one-on-ones, I think one of the most popular builds that I run into is like a really lightweight. It's not a rat. It's got like double Ransetsus and then missiles on the back. And they constantly just keep you at mid-range the whole time. And sometimes if it's not it's not Ransetsus, it's the double laser pistols. That was the toughest match I fought in a while. Double laser pistols on a lightweight AC with light wave missiles on the back.
You mean the Auroras?
Yeah, the Auroras, right? And it's just, if you don't, they're just constantly backpedaling, and if you have a heavyweight or a mediumweight AC, they're just backpedaling the whole match. You're assault boosting towards them, and then you're just taking pistol lasers the whole match, and you just die because you can't reach them. And that's with like a medium to a heavy medium AC. Like the only way I was able to beat that setup was literally just going into basically a cat, right?
Yeah, how the current meta builds deal with that is just Rat Knight is just better at that because they have so much assault boost speed that they just like boost into them, get a kick off, get their hammer off, because kicking the hammer is a frame trap or true combo, whatever you want to call it, and they just get obliterated by that. Like they are dead, they are gone. Good night. It's like
right.
That is a me when I fucking get you build where you just catch them once and they are dead. Good night.
Right. But try to do that in a tank against that build, right? Or
exactly. So here's my thought process on the AP rate percentage. I personally hate the fact that it's percentage versus AP, but I don't think that's a problem with the mechanic itself. I think they had to make it, I agree with you, because of the AP disparity is the biggest problem. That's the only way you have to have AP percentage versus AP lead. You have to, because the vast difference between the tank AP versus non-tank AP, specifically tank AP, if anything else. But that it didn't used to be that big of a disparity. I mean, the most you usually saw between ACs was like around, like an old gen, like 3.5, for example, was like maybe 2k AP or so, maybe 2.5, almost 3.
Yeah.
That's the biggest divide you would see. And you can make that up pretty easily on a lightweight versus a heavyweight. Now you have like double the AP, where of course you can't do AP lead versus percentage.
Yeah.
But I have a problem personally, because I think it's a little ridiculous too, that I can have 18,000 AP, you can have 9,000. You have one missile tink me from halfway across the map, and then you can run away the whole time and you win after doing 1 damage. Like, that's also, in my opinion, not necessarily good game design either.
But
So
at the same time, why that doesn't happen, and why like rats are really dying out. Sorry, Royal Sky, but
No, you're good. You're good. I'm that fun.
why rats are really dying out in 1v1s is that 1 VPM changes that entirely. Because yeah, they can dink you for 1 damage, but if you dink them, they have such low defenses. You hit them with the VPM, they're fucked. They now have to hit you like with 4 VPMs instead of you just 1, because the percentage-based thing and the defenses suck. So you put on. That's why every Born Mizzet tank, every tank build right now that is viable. Like Bowles is running around with dual majestic earshot VPM. They have a VPM on there just to deal with rats. Every tank build needs a VPM. It is basically borderline required at the moment. It needs a VPM or some sort of missile to deal with rats.
I actually think the hardest thing for me to fight as a rat is a missile tank, personally.
Yeah, because your DPS is similar, but they just have way more health than you.
Yeah, and then you focus on shooting them for so long, and then you get stabbed in the back while you're doing that, you know. So yeah, I think it just sucks if you're a tank and you got like really close range weapons trying to fight a rat. Like, yeah, you're kind of screwed in that situation. But on the flip side, if you're a super heavy tank and you have the Auroras and the Truenos and, you know, siege missiles, like, it's not easy to survive a missile tank, in my opinion, especially if they have the wheelchair legs.
The Fortaleza.
The Fortaleza, yeah. If you're fighting a missile tank on the ground, that's actually probably one of the rat's worst nightmares, especially in a 3v3, because you waste so much time focusing on that tank that he's gonna kill you before you kill him, or his teammates are gonna kill you before you kill him. So
yeah, it's very interesting because like there's a weird dynamic between lightweights and heavyweights where the lightweight players are either I'm gonna get close to you and outplay the fuck out of you and just have a glass cannon build and you're just gonna die like in one interaction with a laser dagger or slicer or pile bunker or whatever. Usually not pile bunker because they just can't fit it because it's so gosh darn heavy. Or it's I'm never going to interact with you ever. And
yeah, those are the 2 modes. Yeah.
When it comes to health of the game and like health of the meta and stuff like that, both play styles are valid. It's just how much counterplay is there. Because I promise you, if lightweight like Basho, Viento, Ocellus builds, the ones that like have, you know, Basho arms, double Vientos, Ocellus FCS, and Laser Dagger or Twin Blade were the best builds in the game, people would complain about it 1000%. If you could not touch them, if you could not hit them because they were too gosh darn fast, it would be an issue.
I agree.
If they just broke FCS way too easily.
And the funny thing is, that's how it used to actually be.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
how it used to be.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes have rose-colored glass when it comes to the mechanics of the old game sometimes, not realizing this game actually has a fair bit of variety. Honestly, this is probably the most build variety I've seen in an Armored Core game in a long time.
Oh,
really?
For sure.
Long time.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Really?
Hands down.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Because okay, and I'm not gonna talk about this very often because I did like a long 40-minute rant about it on stream. But Clerics, not Clerics. I keep saying Cleric because somebody in chat said, "Oh, you mean Clerics 3v3 tournament?" No, that's not. That's Fighting Cowboy, not Cleric. 2 different people.
Fighting Cowboy. Yep.
Yeah, they have a tournament right now. That's going on this Sunday, and they've barely promoted it, but it has like official Bandai backing. Like their prize is like a bunch of press kits for Armored Core, which is really cool. But they've done like no advertising of it at all, and their rule set's terrible. And like it's going to be like a really weird tournament. And I wish them the best. I like Cowboy. That's the reason I play Souls games, and Cowboy's one of them. One of the reasons. They got me through Dark Souls 1, and I fell in love with the games after that.
Nice.
So like I like Fighting Cowboy, but his rule set is weird as all hell. It's like if one of your teammates has Zimmerman, 1, you can't have dual Zim, and 2, your teammate can't have a Zimmerman at all. And this goes with every single AC part, including expansion.
Really?
It's very, very weird. And the reasoning behind this is to promote variety instead of the typical PvP builds that we see. When in the current meta, we're seeing the most variety we've ever seen at all in this game. And according to y'all, some of the most variety we've ever seen in Armored Core in general. So why do they... Now I'm like even more befuddled why they have this rule.
Well, okay, I think something to be that gets overlooked a lot is it's very clear if you look at the intention, the way the developers meant the game to be. The game is very clearly meant to be played. Like a lot of the things that they're balancing for is not just one-on-ones. The game was very designed around 3v3s. And you can tell this in the goddamn story trailer. What is it? It's a team of 3 ACs, right?
That's a good point.
Attacking a mission. And what do they have in that trailer? 1 missile long range unit, 1 double handgun close range unit, and 1 medium range with the minigun, right? This is how they expected the teams to be played, where you got your long range rat, your close range cat, and then your medium guy. That's just kind of, you know, the all around.
Your medium guy.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah.
Hi, I'm medium guy.
Hi, my name's Jake. I'm the medium guy of this team. Nice to meet you. It's like,
Striker, you got to come up with a name for that archetype. But anyway, yeah.
Medium guy? I don't think I need to come up with... I feel like medium guy is perfect. I think that's okay.
but you know, you can tell that that's the way the devs were kind of intending to balance the game around. And when you go on 3v3s, you see a lot of variety. Like that's where you see all the variety. Actually, most of the variety I see is when you're going online, and maybe I know in 3v3 tournaments is a little bit different, but if you just go on casual where they're getting the win rates from online play, right? That's what they're using to judge the nerfs and stuff. You're seeing all kinds of ACs in 3v3s. There's like random teams. I'm seeing the guys with the fucking chainsaws, the punches, the LCSs, the Zimmermans, the missiles. There's
Dirk's tournament. There was all kinds of
right?
stuff being used in Dirk's tournament this last weekend. All
It's so
kinds
cool.
of stuff.
Yeah, and that's, you know, so that's what that was their hope, and that's where we're going. And so yeah, there's a whole bunch of variety. I promise you, if we were back then, you would basically see. I mean, in the Silent Line days, it was basically middleweight, lightweight. You better have orbit cannons and rifles like that. At least
OP intensify with laser cannon.
Yeah. You know, like it was like those were the 10 weapons you would see in most every single match because those were the best, right? But here it's just like, oh yeah, you see your lightweights, and sometimes you see tanks being viable too. I just mentioned earlier, missile tanks are really hard to fight as a missile rat. You know, that's a dynamic, like seeing a big missile guy fighting a small missile guy, and that's actually still interesting because it's not easy on either side, right?
Fucking big missile guy versus small missile.
I mean,
You're killing me.
Missile guy versus medium guy.
You guys know what I'm talking about. But,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but it's just really funny. It's just...
I'm just seeing Ryan Reynolds in front of a movie poster right now. The sequel.
big missile guy.
Don't quote me on this, guys. Okay. But...
I love it though. It's really, it's true. It legitimately is true. Like that again. That's why the rule set baffles me so much. It's like, what do you mean to promote more variety? That's all we have. We have so much of it.
A lot. That's all there. I mean, yeah, you can be a meta whore if you want, and do, you know, you can try it out. It's not gonna work unless your playstyle vibes with that personality, but I mean, like, if you do, I promise someone's gonna come out with a design that's not meta, and he's gonna beat you, right? Like, it's just gonna happen.
I mean, how I beat meta builds all the time with fucking laser. Don't put me on a missile rat either. I'll get impatient, and start kicking. It's like I'll get in there. I'm Western. That's how we roll, apparently.
Striker, I've seen your yo-yo game. I've seen you take out lobsters with your yo-yo. Okay, like, those lobsters were not expecting to lose to a fucking yo-yo.
Dude, I will beat meta builds with fucking laser blade, one of the worst weapons in the game, in my opinion. Like, it's just too much fun. Laser blade's fucking awesome, and they buffed it. I mean, we haven't talked about the most recent patch ever, like, because it didn't really do a lot. But they did buff Laser Blade, and it makes me so excited because, like, that's a regulation patch, and if y'all don't know how those work, because that's probably gonna, I mean, that is a, they did call that in, like, Armored Core, like, for answer and stuff like that, they call them regulation patches, but there's a file in your, you might not know this because it's a PC thing, there's a file in your game folder called regulation.bin, and that's all they change when they do a balance update. When they do like a regulation, like a 0.1 style patch, like this one was 1.04.1, that's the only file they changed. That's where all the stats of all the weapons live. So you can actually, if you want to, and I don't condone you doing this, you should not do this so you know what you're doing, but you can act, because like people on Discord have been doing this, on my Discord, where they go in there and they change a few values just to see what would happen. So like that's how we know what everything does, is that they would change like this value and like, oh, okay, that's the value for like impact damage on biped kicks.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that,
you could, if you wanted to, go into the file and change things. Like there's a really funny clip that I might be able to find, I'm not sure, of researcher changing a tetrapod's walk speed to be like as maximum as possible, and they're just like, their legs are moving so quickly, it's really funny. It's like, there's values for literally everything that live in that space, but what they can't do when they do a regulation patch is mess with hitboxes, or like movie files and things like that. So that's why in 1.04 we got a bunch of movie files, because it was the updated statistics for those guns. Like a Zerman shooting a like the video of a Majestic, for example. They had to change that because the Majestic got a reload speed buff, I believe. So they had to show the new value in the video.
Yeah, right.
Which, God, how fucking annoying must that be?
Dude, there's so
More
much
animators.
But yeah, so that they can only change those things. So what I'm excited about for Laserblade and all these things that we got buffed is that we might see even more buffs for these bad weapons, because I know the Jerry Bomb got buffed, and like the Napalm Launcher got buffed, but they weren't really meaningful buffs. Like Jamming Launcher is still bad, which someone left a really weird comment about like how Japan is using the Jamming Bomb Launcher and being really, really good with it, and like it's one of the best weapons in their meta. Homie, I haven't seen it. I've watched a lot of Japan stuff. If you see, like people aren't using Jamming Bomb. There was a YouTube short that I saw.
Yeah, my brother is a Jamming Bomb master, and he uses it really well. But it doesn't surprise me that Japan uses it, because it's the ultimate missile counter, and missiles in especially teams are so important.
Yeah.
If you basically just habitually, it's like just get into the habit of just deploy the jammer every 8 seconds. Yeah, it takes 8 seconds.
But I watch a lot of tournament footage, and I've never seen that thing be used in 1v1. It's like the week 1 tournament, where like where someone brought it out against Bull's missile boat and still lost because Bull's just outplayed it really hard.
Yeah, well, you can, but I would say if you because you know how we said you have to get used to it. You can't just pick it up. You're not gonna pick up Jigglypuff and then know how to use it. You really gotta dedicate. You gotta dedicate to the jammer a little bit.
That's a good point. I do like that, but I again, I just want to say, like, Jerry Bomb still, I don't know, maybe I'll change my opinion on Jerry Bomb one day, but for right now, it's like, yeah, I got a buff, but it didn't really get a meaningful buff. It got like half charge time, which is nice, but I haven't seen anyone use it because of that. Like, no one's fucking around with it at the moment.
A lot more useful in teams.
I can imagine.
Do you want to know what the builds were for the 3v3 tournament that the 4-3-2 Japanese team used?
Yeah, go ahead.
So they had a Bone Mesa tank with double Majestic, double Fasan.
Okay.
They had the boat tank legs with double hand missile, double coral missile.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a double Zim tetrapod with the pulse shield and the 10 cell missile.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's a good all-around team, because you have your main damager, and then you have your missile support that's kind of a mix between a close ranger, and then you have the you got 2 heavyweights really, and then 1 kind of middle support. And,
by the way, the core missiles were doing work the whole time.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too, because they're one of the hardest missiles to dodge, and in this game, dodging is, man, if you like any weapon that you can deploy and fire and forget and know that there's like a 70% chance it's gonna do its job is pretty amazing. There's very few weapons in the game that you can do that and know, okay, he's gonna have this much stagger or this much damage in the next 4 seconds, right? The coral missiles are like up there. If you're not looking at it, oh my god, it's gonna nail you in the back.
Yeah, coral missile and javelin beta.
Yeah.
Like, I've started using javelin beta a lot. It's really, really cool.
It's so hard to use that thing, man. I tried, man. It's hard.
It's fun. But yeah, I feel like we're winding down here. We didn't get to talk a lot about what I wanted to, but honestly, I'm a big fan of how this went. I thought it was very fun.
I was gonna say I gotta bounce in like 10 minutes here, but if I know we got so derailed, and I just wanted to
let you know, like, hey, if there was any last topic you wanted to cover before I bounce, like, let's do it now.
Honestly, I feel like I'm happy with that. We didn't talk about optional parts or OS tunings or stabilizers, but I mean, we can talk about that at a different time. We did talk about radiators though, which is funny because that's like the one thing y'all didn't want to talk about.
It was chat. It was a joke, chat. I'm serious.
There is no chat. It's on YouTube, Cleric. This chat doesn't exist.
Comment section. It was a joke.
Yeah, the comment section.
Anyway, so Cleric, I'm gonna go ahead and put your links in the description. I know where you live. I know where you are. You're also streaming on Twitch, which is very, very cool. I believe you're dual streaming both on Twitch and YouTube now.
That is correct. Actually, I started doing that the night before they made the change. Like, why not? Let's try it.
They made it just for you, Cleric. They did it just. They were like, oh, that Cleric guy.
I'm like, oh, thank you.
Jeff Bezos was like, yo, that Cleric guy's kind of cool. I think we're gonna let him stay. It's like,
nice.
And then Roll Sky, you're doing Unreal Engine tutorials, right, at the moment on your channel?
Yeah, it's just it's a game development, a computer art channel. So if you want to learn how to do anything 3D animation related, 2D image related, I got a lot of stuff that tells you how to do all that stuff. I have tutorials like all over the place, and they're all 60 seconds long. So if you have a short attention span and you just want to learn how to make cool stuff, then you can find me on YouTube, and it's literally just Royals guys.
Now, I will also say what's really cool about that when it comes to Armored Core stuff to keep people kind of interested in it. Your FCS video where you literally recreated like the fucking mechanics that they use in Armored Core 6 and then changed a few values to show exactly how FCS worked. That was so fucking cool. So if you're interested in somebody who knows exactly what the fuck they're talking about, definitely go check them out.
Thanks,
that was awesome. That is one of the reasons why you were here. I thought that was so fucking cool.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, man. Thanks.
But yeah, so that'll be it. Keep in mind, gamers, that there is a 3v3 tournament. There is Cowboys tournament. I do implore y'all to go check that out because I would like that to do well. Because if that does well, maybe Bandai Namco will start sponsoring more events and stuff like that, which would be very cool. And you know, I'll put the link to that in the description down below. I believe that is, I don't remember exactly what time it is, but I'll put that in the description down below so you can go check that out. There's also the 1v1 $1,000 tournament that is happening this Saturday that I am extremely nervous about, but it'll be very, very fun. Have 164 players signed up for that thing.
Damn.
Good lord. Actually, let me check. 166 now. Got 2 more. Let's go.
Damn.
And I do know that the 3rd best player in Japan has signed up for it, so that's pretty cool.
Oh my god, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, someone messaged me like, hey, make sure you see this guy high because he wins a lot of tournaments in Japan. He's probably their 3rd best player. And I'm like, oh, cool. Can't wait people to complain about lat or something, and I have to step in and do that.
I am so looking forward to seeing how that tournament plays out, man.
I am too. I just hope it's fun, and I hope my ISP doesn't crash or something out of my control happens. I just hope, because like at the end of the day, when it comes to hosting events, I just want people to have a good time. Like competitive integrity matters a lot to me and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like if you're having fun, then I think I've done my job right.
That's pretty much, you have to have that mentality, man. And I think you're doing a good job, dude. Like, so for real, just, you know, you've obviously been, you know, proving yourself as a good tournament, you know, host and organizer. I have no doubt that your next tournament is going to be awesome. You know, you're getting players from across countries to participate, dude. God. I think that's only gonna get better. You know, you're probably gonna have Koreans joining in next time too if you keep growing at the speed, dude. What I'm excited about, and this is the last thing that we can talk about because I know you have to leave soon, but I genuinely believe that this is in this new era of Armored Core, this is the lowest point for us, 1000%. Because this game is very bare bones compared. This is kind of, we're talking about Armored Core Verdict Day Online a little bit here. This game is so bare bones compared to the other Armored Core game that came before it. From what I've heard, there's like crazy stuff like raid bosses. There's that operator mode you're talking about. Like one player can like ping opponents and not even really be playing the game. It's like the guy in the chair kind of moment. Yeah. It's like, that's so cool to me. And we don't have that, but we could in Armored Core 7, Armored Core 8, etc., etc. So the fact that our player base is this fucking cool and this like interesting and this fucking awesome, when we are probably going to be struggling the most we will ever do as a game series, like in this new era, is fucking awesome. And it makes me extremely excited to keep going with this franchise and with this community. Dude, just like, I'd say I just think you bring an energy that we have desperately needed in the AC community for a long time. Because like I said, we're a bunch of nerds that just kind of keep to ourselves and build stuff in our garage for 14 hours a day. And but you need someone to go out there and just hype up the game and be like, hey, there's a tournament. Did you know there's a tournament? Sign up here. Check out this video. Check out these tournaments. You know, like you need someone to, like you, who has that energy and spirit to get in your face and put it out there and just talk about it. And I think that's just something that we have sorely not really had in the community for a long time. And, you know, I think, you know, Cleric's been in the community for a whole long time too. I've kind of just played the game. I wasn't really super like especially after PlayStation 3 came out, I kind of fell off the charts and I just kind of played it, you know, to myself. But just seeing you bring this new breath of fresh air, this young blood energy to it, I think that's exactly what we need to do. So I've got my fingers crossed for you. I think you're doing a great job, and I hope you continue to do the great job, because you're doing good, man. Like seriously, you're doing really good.
That means a lot. Thank you. It's like it feels good sometimes to be the dumbest person in the room. Does that make sense? It's like
No, yeah,
because you talked about how like you're a lot of the community is a bunch of nerds and stuff like that. But like because I mentioned this earlier, I was playing Risk Array Returns with some people in my Discord earlier, and they were like talking about Linux and a bunch of other stuff like while we played, and I was like, I don't know anything about this. Like I'm just here to play funny sniper, man. I think they're cool. It's like
someone in
watch a calorific value.
Linux, though.
Yeah, I had to Google calorific value.
Yup. Dude, no, you're doing good, man. Keep it up.
Anything to promote the game or the series as a whole, I am all in on. Like seriously.
Yeah.
Like I've loved this game since the first one, and I want to see this game thrive. So yeah, kudos to the shout outs.
Yeah, and also I want to shout out oh shoot, what's the other? Am I stupid? 1 second. Oh no, okay, here we go. Okay, that's why I had a brain fart for a moment. Give me a second. Again, dumbest person in the room. But so there's also the Xbox and PlayStation Discord, which you can join down below in the description down below. So if you play on console and you're like, man, I wish I could participate in all these cool PC tournaments, stuff like that. Well, PlayStation has tournaments, Xbox has tournaments. The community's down there really ain't great. Talked to them last week on Armoredcast. If you missed that one, go check it out. They're really cool people. Go join those communities. go play some Armored Core with them. It's gonna be a very good time. And I believe
Xbox has a tournament this Saturday. Actually,
there you go. That's what I was thinking of. There we go.
All right.
Because there you go. Awesome. Wait, has one this Saturday? That's the same day as my tournament. Don't. Okay, you know what? I take it back. Don't join their. Anyway,
well, they're Xbox players. You should be fine.
Damn.
It's all good. Just play the game, people. That's the important. Play the game.
Yes,
have fun
play
with
the
it.
game.
Play the game, have fun, give FromSoft data so they can go through. Go jump off Grid 12 with Dual Zim a few times.
Yeah, do that.
Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you next week on Armoredcast.
All right, well, sounds good. You guys have a good one, all right?
I forget how to end these. Anyway, goodbye, rules, guys. See you, dude.
See you.
All right, it was nice talking to you, Cleric. I'll see you next time, dude.
Yeah, it was good talking to you too. Dude, good luck on your tournament this Saturday, man. I hope it goes super well for you.
It will either be one of the best days of my life or one of the worst. We'll see when we get there.
I'm sure it'll have its ebbs and flows as all tournaments do, but I have confidence. I think it'll well. I'm really hoping it goes really well, though. We need this thing to blow up.
Yeah, I mean, that's my hope. I mean, again, I genuinely think this is the lowest that we're ever going to see Armored Core be in this new era. I legitimately feel that way, because From Software has already said they want to make more games. People bought the hell out of this one, so we'll see what happens.
Here's hoping.
And if worse comes to worse, I'll jump ship and play Daemon X Machina too.
Oh gosh.
All right, see you, Cleric.
See ya.
Bye. I'm keeping that in the video. That was funny. Goodbye.